all product, faced with hard luck. Faced with hard luck. Card shots, thieves, murderers with hard luck. Pimps and card shots, thieves, murderers with hard luck. We all product, faced with hard luck. Faced with hard luck. Card shots, thieves, murderers with hard luck. Pimps and card shots, thieves, murderers with hard luck.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Hard Luck Show. I'm your certified, qualified West Side host, Steve Lucky Luciano. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You've tuned into the greatest show on earth. That's right, we're coming at you from the bunker in Southern California. Sitting across from me, my co-host and partner
is Chumahan Bowen, American, Indian, Southern Californian, elegant, barbarian, here to say some unforgettable shit once again. Come on.
Sun dries.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Huh.
Talking about right there.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Let's go. Savages.
Savages. Man.
Huh. Huh.
Yeah. And old Emerald Blue Eyes on audio.
Sean Lewis, certified audio professional engineer for the Hard Luck Show.
Yeah. Whoa.
Shout out to Arbs.
Shout out to Arbs. He's got
Yeah.
the meats.
He got some real summertime jam shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? A little
Right.
R&B like.
little slow cook barbecue, hanging out,
Yeah.
getting your swerve on.
The song's called Take the 10.
What?
The song's called Take the 10.
As in
Take
the
10 freeway.
Yeah.
Right.
The west side.
Until you
That's
get
right.
till you get to Pacific Coast Highway.
Yeah.
Right?
So you get to the city of Santa Monica,
come
California.
Look at Sean, man. He's like leaning back. He's
Yeah.
got a little bit. Sean, what are you doing with that cough syrup? What?
Yeah.
He's
Double
pouring
cup.
it
That's
into a
syrup.
What? He's pouring it into a soda.
That's the scissor up.
Is he gonna drink that?
You drinking
Sean,
scissor?
Sean, don't drink that scissor. Come on,
No,
man. Come
your
on,
kidneys
bro.
are gonna fail.
Come on, that's codeine,
Trying
bro.
to put that
what
shit
the fuck are
down.
you doing? We're trying to do a show. God
Yeah,
damn it,
man.
but,
You're over here on motherfucker.
We got
Tilt.
actual. We got like an actual.
Lean.
Right. We got like a serious person in the studio.
We've
right
got,
now.
yeah, we got.
And the
Sometimes we have major players come through as guests, and this beautiful early afternoon, we have a lovely, gorgeous woman that runs a company called From the Streets to the Set. Let's welcome the beautiful, ever talented, motivated Miss Berenice here to the show today. Welcome to the show, Berenice.
Thank you for having me.
Look at the crowd. Look at the crowd.
Calm down, guys. Sit down.
Hey, she's
get
married.
your shirt down.
Come
Put
on,
your shirt
she's
down.
married.
The
Look
fuck?
at that guy just dropped his pants. I can't believe it.
God damn. You got even the ladies are trying to show. Hey,
everybody.
put that down.
Hey, come on. This ain't that kind of show.
Man.
Good Lord.
We got men and women all riled up in here.
Oh, my God. Lepke, leave her alone, Lepke.
Look at. By the way, Berenice is like a casting director. She handles and she has a casting company. And she came in, and I had kind of like peeped out. I had kind of like dealt out a little bit that she was coming in for the show. Lepke didn't know she was coming, so we're finishing. And Lepke's like, as soon as I said the name of her company, like his ears were kind of like a Doberman, like they both started pointing, right? And I was like, when I said it, he goes, "Oh yeah, I wanted to meet her. Yeah, I got my head shot. Okay." And he started getting all nervous and sweaty, and I'm like, "Hey,
Dude,
man, relax, bro." And he goes, "When's you gonna be here?" And he started, wiping his face.
He had a towel.
From the bath. Yeah, he's doing all
his
sorts of stuff.
weightlifting towel came out. He was mopping his face.
It was like he was getting ready to meet Scorsese,
dude.
you think,
and when she walked in,
he almost ran her over.
Oh, I've never seen him like
Dude,
that.
you ever see him move? He was moving like a gazelle, bro.
He pushed Big Tim out of the way.
Yeah.
Big Tim's face smashed against the window right there. He was like, "Hey, so Bernice, hey, so what's going on? Hey, you know what? I know little Pee Wee. I was, hey, listen, hey, I'm like a father to him. And then I heard Berenice actually say, and I'm not exactly sure why she said, she's like, "Lepke, I'm married," and he was like, remember that?
Yeah,
that was crazy. We had to
Man.
I had to get
We had to pull him off of her feet.
Right. he was pitching. He was starting to do auditions.
Yeah,
he was like,
it was an audition,
right? He put his hand in his face. He was like, okay, hold on, honey. I'm gonna do a scene. I'm gonna do a scene from On the Waterfront.
Yeah. He started going.
Yeah, exactly. I could have been a contender. And then he was like, okay, that was that. Berenice, let's just cut right to the chase.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can we just stop fucking around? Is that possible?
Ask me.
Okay. Do you deal with that like on a daily? Like, do people, once they hear you're a casting director or you're a casting agent or whatever it is, do they immediately go into, I'm pitching my shit to you right now?
When it's on a face-to-face basis, most likely it's like, hey, where can I send this? Where can I, start? What's the email? Are you any projects? So that's on a daily. But just what the difference with Lepke is that, it's been years since we've seen each other. And, so now that he's sober and doing good, now he could officially remember where he met me. And but I've seen Lepke like years ago. I met him years ago, and I've always gravitated to his energy. It's always been like he's been loud. He's been just outgoing,
high octane. He is always high octane, right?
Yes,
he's the best. He's got a heart of gold.
Yes, he does.
So I don't know, Steve. Where do you want to? I mean, maybe Berenice can tell us, but like, where do you want to start this thing, or how do you want to set this up?
Yeah, well, let me begin by starting to say, I'll give you a little background story. There's a gentleman that I'm been friends with for about 25 years who used to have an agency called Suspect Entertainment. His name's Manny, and I'm sure many listeners know who I'm talking about. And I'm real close with Manny, and me and Manny have some mutual friends that are like my family and like his family kind of. But I'm close with him, and he's close with one of my business partners, Esteban, and some other people. Anyways, he kind of was doing something in entertainment, and then on Instagram, I came across Berenice's page, which is From the Streets to the Set, and she was doing something in a similar vein. And basically, what I want to say is what both of these people were doing, or are doing, or were doing, and doing now. Berenice is bringing, we see so many. We see in Hollywood and in media our brown brothers and sisters primarily being misrepresented.
What does that
bullshit
mean? Like misrepresented? How?
You see a lot of these films, man. They're casting a lot of imposters in these positions and these roles that really this looks completely retarded, and we get misrepresented a lot. Okay, the brown community,
right?
And And I always felt like, man, when they would cast a lot of these movies, some of them are kind of like, I don't know, just great films, or the ability to be great films. And when they would cast these characters that really aren't really, they get it all wrong. From the director on down to the actors, the casting, everybody. They just don't get it right. And I think as I grew up watching films, I would say to myself, man, why don't they cast like a real motherfucker in that?
Right.
And then they get the real dude. Or why doesn't a real motherfucker from the streets direct something, and they would get like...
Hey, what would be a film where you saw it and you're like, man, if that would have had a real motherfucker in it, it would have been 10 times better?
I don't want to start picking apart films. I mean, I don't know, and Berenice, and I'm sure Manny would have a much better scope on it. But what I can say is that there have been episodes where they did use some real, and it changed the whole dynamic. And I'll refer to it by saying like Training Day. Training Day, the reason that film did so well in so many ways, there's a lot of pieces. Denzel's a fantastic actor, but they went to real places and used people from those communities and cast them, gave them opportunities, speaking roles, and they got it right. And I think that that's not done a lot. And I think that when you start developing scripted stuff like Boys in the Hood, you start playing in that field. And I think the more authentic people that you can put into these films, the more authentic the film's going to be.
Right.
And so Manny was doing something. He was filling that void for a while. And they started casting appropriately, I felt like, and we started getting better representation. Well, I noticed that Berenice right away, as I started scrolling her page, she was bringing our gente into Hollywood and positioning and offering them up, saying, why not? Why not? We have plenty of talent here. We have actors that are even trained actors from those that bring something that you can't duplicate and you can't learn. And as soon as I saw it, I think what I want to say, and I want to be clear, Juman, and I'm not meaning to drag on, Juman.
No.
But what I want to say, to be clear more than anything, and I want to say this now, was, yes, I don't know the inner workings of what she's doing. I get where she's going with this, but what I'm so attracted to what you're doing is that you're in the same plight as I am, and that's, we have something to offer as a whole. And yes, we fit into Hollywood, we fit into politics, we fit into seats and positions, we fit into art. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have all that, man. Don't overlook us, and that's all we've gotten. So it's about us taking it up and making it happen ourselves.
For sure.
If we're not going to have a casting director that's going to see it like that, well, maybe that's my calling, to be that casting director. I know that. And when I say we're in the same plight, as you probably know a little bit about our background, like, you know, Schumann's a screenplay writer and an attorney. I've been in apparel. Together, we have some documentaries we're producing. We're producing a TV show. We have this podcast we do, and we're working on another documentary. And these are all with people like Maria Soto, Esteban Oreo, like Lepke, Frank DeMarco. Like, all of us are working together, and we feel like those stories have never been told. Mm-hmm. And they haven't been told right, and they haven't been documented right. And I'll even go a step further. We're documenting the truth with the real guys. Right. And I think that we have a lot to offer. And with that big, long speech I just gave, you know, I see you, and you're coming, and you're a female who's stepping into this and handling your business. And I love what you're about. Like, I want to support you in everything that you're doing, because I believe in what you're doing.
Thank you.
So kind of that's where it stands. That's where we're at. So we're all on the same team.
Right. Yes. Everybody got it clear now?
Got it clear now. So
don't get it fucked up.
Don't get it fucked up. I hope I cleared it up. Now, so take us back. Give us a little history on you.
Yeah.
Prior to this. Like,
yeah.
Where'd you come from? Where'd you grow up? And how did you find your way to where you're at today? Give us that.
Okay, so born and raised actually in the heart of Hollywood. And
and what is the heart of Hollywood for people who don't know?
So like Hollywood, Western, you know, Hollywood and Highland, those were my stomping grounds.
Did you ever see Lepke High walking around down there?
Not in Hollywood, but I was down more in the Skid Row area when I did meet Lepke. And that was because of the circumstances that the person I was also involved with was in that situation. So, you know, when a girl, and I'm going to say a girl, tries to save a man, they put themselves in different positions. So when you woman up, then you realize that you really can't change anybody but yourself, right? So that's where...
That's interesting. Hold on a second.
Woman up? That's manning up and woman up.
Hold on. So, first, how old were you when you came to understand that I can't save a guy?
You know what? I wish I could have learned that at a much younger age, but I was 27 years old.
That's young.
That's still young.
That's young.
Right. So that was just yesterday, right? Because you're 27.
She's 31 today.
Right,
so.
She's 28. No, but going back to that, where did you pick that up that a woman could save a guy?
You know, I think that because in the culture that we are raised in, right, like the women are known to stick to your partner, be loyal, you write it out, you know, you just stay with them 100%. And not only the culture and seeing the women that I was raised by, but then you go into the gang culture and then you're taught loyalty. You're taught, you know, that Bonnie and Clyde mentality, you ride or die. Yeah. And so therefore, you know, you put yourself through a lot of trauma and situations that not only affect you like in an emotional state, but then it starts, you know, draining you spiritually, mentally, physically. And, you know, and we are taught like you stick to it, you know, and you remain. And I think that's where the difficult part is walking away, because you don't want to feel like, oh, I gave up on someone I claim to care about, or oh, I don't want to give up because what if something worse happens, or you know, you don't want to kill, right, you know, and you don't want to carry that guilt or that, you know, just that heavy weight of like, well, you're the one in your right mind, why couldn't you stick around longer? And the thing is that you staying in a situation like that is not you being in your right mind. That just proves that you're also broken. You know?
Meanwhile, you're staying loyal to somebody, but you're not being loyal to yourself.
To myself, correct.
Right. So, what were your parents like? Like, you're a little girl. Like, so your parents have that ride or die relationship?
Well, see, my mom and my dad, both immigrants. My dad's Salvadorian, my mom Mexican. Her first husband was an alcoholic, you know, till he died. So, I mean...
Till he died?
Till he died.
That's a real alcoholic.
So, yeah. So, he passed away. And then, you know, she met my dad. And my dad was, quote unquote, a functional alcoholic. So it's not like he beat her and he was at home. Like, he was the type to drink all night and then be up at 5 a.m. and go provide. Right. You know, so it became the norm. And as long as a man got up and provided, then he wasn't a loser, right? So
you couldn't say anything.
Right.
He was doing what he was supposed to do.
Right.
By the way, Jewel702 says that you are her neighbor or his neighbor. Do you know who that is?
Jewel, I probably do. I have to see the face unless there's a different Instagram.
We don't have time for that.
No, yeah.
Okay, so you grow up, you have sort of that type of relationship being modeled for you, right?
Right.
And then for you, in culturally or whatever, your peers or whatever, you're growing up in that area, and then so you become loyal to your friends or your boyfriends, or how did that work?
I become loyal to, I'm going to say, like, the family business, right? Because I have brothers and I'm the only sister. Growing up, I have, you know, stepsisters, but I wasn't allowed to be raised with them because I was the black sheep and I was the one going down the wrong path. This is a different mom, you know, like my dad remarried.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
What path were you? When was it that it was like, ah, shit, Berenice, you're fucked up. You cannot hang out with the good kids. What were you doing?
So I think my self-destruction became at the age of 13. I started being in Hollywood and, you know, with the homies and getting that quote unquote unconditional love and acceptance. And I found the love in a male, right, with the homies, because at that time, my older brothers, one of my oldest brothers is 10 years older and then 14 years older. So they were already in and out of institutions, placements, juvenile halls. So, and then dad left at the age of 6, not far, but he left. And, you know, so the abandonment issues, like the daddy issues that people quote and all that stuff. So when you gravitate to a group of males that embrace you, you know, not even in a sexual way, but embrace you, you're like, hey, these are like my brothers and I feel safe. And then you become loyal to that because you don't want to lose that. You already felt what it is like to be neglected or to be left or, you know, someone absent in your home. So it's easily manipulated to where, you know, hey, like, we have your back. It's an unconditional love, you know,
but there's a price to pay.
Of course, you know, there's always a price. I don't believe there's anything free in this world except love, you know, if you really are giving it that way, you know, but there is always something to pay. Like, what is it that you bring to the hood? Like, what is it that you could put in work in? Like, what, and, you know, like that whole unconditional word, I believe it's very conditional.
It's all conditional.
Yeah, you know, and
everything's got conditions to it.
Yeah, and if you don't bring anything to the table, I mean, you're replaceable. You're no
you ain't
different.
Gonna be at the table.
Right.
So let me ask you this, and just in a super vulnerable way, if you can, because, you know, we deal a lot with male and young man issues on the show. But for a girl who's 6 years old, what does a girl who's 6 years old, what does she go through when her father leaves the house?
Oh, man, it's an absence that is unexplainable. Like, how do you say that you are there as my protector, as the one to love me, my first love. And then you walk away from a family like nothing, you know? And I think, you know, now understanding the motives of like Pops, right? Like his...
Wait. Let's not rehabilitate.
No.
Let's.
I
want
want
to know because I have a daughter. She's 1.
Right.
And I see how she looks at me. Like when I come
Well, I
home
mean,
from
you're
work,
her first love. You're the first man in her life. So imagine just walking away from that. You give a sense to a girl that anybody's able to do that. So then this boundary comes, you know, and then you protect yourself. And it came to the point where that innocent little girl didn't exist no more because I had to protect my feelings. Right. I couldn't allow dad giving me false promises. Oh, I'm gonna show up to this and then not show up, or oh, I'm gonna come pick you up. Often. And here's the ironic thing about that. My dad, it's not like he relocated to like a different state or anything. This, you know, my dad moved from apartment
10 minutes
9.
Away.
No, not even apartment 9, and he relocated to apartment 3.
And then he would say, I'm going to show up on this day.
I'm going to show up to your school,
and he
wouldn't, you know? And a lot of it was his drinking. A lot of was his
Right, but didn't you
stuff.
go through the thoughts of like, even though you, like, because listen, we're all in recovery. A lot of us are in recovery and we've gone through a lot of stuff. And I really don't like paying short shrift to what children really go through. Right. So while we understand there was reasons why he couldn't make
retrospectively.
Right. But at the time, I mean, did you ever have the sense of like, don't you love me more than fucking drink or whatever?
Of course. That's always, I think that's primarily one of the resentments I held for a long time. Like, how is it that I have to compete with the bottle, or I have to compete with a woman, or I have to compete with a separate family? Like, I came before all that, you know? And
did he get a separate family?
Yes, he did.
Did he act differently with that separate family?
At times, yeah.
And you were like, that's fucked up.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Like, the way I viewed it from the outside looking in, I believed he was different. Just by having a dad and a mom in the same home, I already resented my siblings, you know? Like, how is it that you're entitled to have that and not I, you know?
Right.
So it caused, you know, a lot of self-esteem and self-worth issues where I'm like, am I not good enough, like, for my own dad to like give a fuck about me or whatever, you know? So you start having self-doubt. You start saying like, you know, what about if it was me, it's my fault, like, why did he leave, you know? So you start questioning a lot and you start self-doubting, and that's where, you know, I believe my self-destructiveness as like getting into unhealthy relationships came about because I was seeking the dad that left, you know, and these older men that I was in relationships with, you know, and you know, you end up seeking something and go chasing for something that you're not going to find.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
a fantasy.
It's a fantasy. It's like, you know, gangbanging. You chase after something that really is not going to lead you anywhere. Right. You know, so, you know,
it's so true what you say, because so many of the guys that I know, they love the movie Scarface. But like the end of that movie is not a happy ending.
Right.
That ending is he dies, right? It's not going anywhere.
But see, that's as fucked up as it is. Like, our society claims that if a man dies that way, there's pride behind it. There's like some type of, I don't know, like honor, you know? But I think that death in certain ways, like, it depends on what legacy you leave, you know, when you die. Like, what is the impact that you leave? And everybody glorifies, you know, like the Scarface and all that stuff, but you know, there's damage and like community trauma, generational trauma that come with it, you know.
But this and you know what, well, you said a lot of good things. I couldn't help but listen. Now listen, with the exception of starting a new family, like brothers and sisters and stuff, that didn't happen for me. But in walking away from my family, you know, asking for a divorce from a fantastic woman that only stood by me, walked out of that, son and daughter, and then my daughter having to so many times, I'm gonna clean up, I'm gonna do good, and then I'm in a fucking treatment center, I'm gonna fucking here, I'm gonna go to prison.
How hard is that?
Over and over with my kids, bro.
How hard is that, Steve?
What?
How hard is it when you see like your daughter and she's looking at you and you've messed up and she knows it and you know it and you're trying to make promises to her. Is that how hard is that?
You just need to you need more substance in you to get through it. Man. You just got to stay loaded to keep that at bay, or it's going to consume you. So you ain't going to stop using when your life's in that. For me, when my life's in that many shambles, I can't breathe. So I have to be able to have a buffer. But you know, up to the point where my daughter had to cut my ass off, man, at 11th grade in high school. And I didn't speak to my daughter for 3.5 years, I think. I tried to text her. She was like, do not text me. Right. I'll contact you when I'm ready. And I get a letter from her 3.5 years later after I'm sober a year and a half. And the letter, as I begin to read it, I start crying. Because the letter that I'm reading is coming from a woman who's in her last year of college, who, because I couldn't protect her and teach her and have her back, she had to do it herself. And that's who I was talking to. And I had missed this, going from little girl to adult, I'd missed that whole thing. And I couldn't help with what you're talking about and the feelings that you say you have. I'm like, fuck, man, my daughter had probably all those fucking feelings. And at the time, bro, I wasn't thinking about that, man. Right. At the time, I can't think down that far that here's the drop and the ripple effects of what this is going to happen. Now, today, I have this amazing relationship with my daughter. It's the most important relationship next to God is my daughter. She makes me a better. All these gifts I never knew that my relationship with a daughter could have. And she's my ride or die, And, we just... perspective and we look back and we don't know these things while we're doing them.
While I'm listening to the both of you and I'm thinking about my daughter and on the one hand I understand, like, obviously a parent or a father has to be in his child or daughter's life, and that's important, and so I'm not thinking that I'm going to artificially like abandon her, but I am also hearing that your daughter Steve and you, Berenice, did develop some strength because you got the message early on that if you're not going to do it for yourself, it's probably not going to happen. So sometimes when I'm putting that extra energy into my daughter, I sometimes think, like, how am I going to also convey to her? Like, there's times where I leave to work and she starts crying, right? She's like 1. She doesn't understand that dad's got to go to work in order to fucking bring home some fucking, falafel so everybody can eat. So she cries, but when she cries, it's like she thinks I'm never coming back. Right. And then at some point, I'm like, God, I have to give her the message that life's a tough fucking road. And you can't be... at some point, you got to realize, even if you have loving parents, that you got to do for yourself. Otherwise... because I got a lot of friends who have parents that are in their lives that do a lot of shit, and they can't do anything for themselves. So where's the balance?
Right. You know what? And I just want to say, eventually, I'll get you conversations with God. But there's a big part in this book where it talks about your children. And supposedly, under my belief and understanding this book, he's dictating what God's saying. And there's a part of the book where he's like, the best thing you can do is let your kid fend for themselves. That's the most love as a parent that you can be. Yeah. Because anything else is hindering them from making it on this planet. The sooner they understand that you're not going to always be... Okay, so we take that, okay? Right. And there's boundaries within that. Right. But what I will say is this, and I can't speak for Berenice, but I have a good idea.
Go ahead.
But I'll speak for my daughter.
Please.
My daughter went and got her own school loans. She went and looked at her own school. She did all this, man, and she graduated from University of Alabama, Roll Tide, as a teacher. Now she's here with her teaching credentials. She does her own thing. She travels. I don't know that my daughter would be like that stealth and powerful and strong without going like. And I'm not trying to say that what I did was right
or planned or thought out
at all. Right. I'm just saying because I have a son, right?
Right.
That he didn't get that rough. Like me and his mom were like constantly saving. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And my son's got some of what I got, and he's doing great today, and he's working through things. My daughter is built differently, and she had it harder in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to turn that over to you, Berenice, because in no way am I at all trying to rub over or smooth over what. But what do you think? Like, there's a piece of all of what you just said that makes you who you are. Yeah. There's no fucking way that you would be doing and running shit like you are without these experiences. Is that true for you? Is that true for you?
I 100% believe that. I even live by a quote that says, like, turn your test into your testimony and your mess into your message. You know why? Because I see it, and even though I was dealt the cards that I was dealt with, now I could see and I could say, man, there's been kids who've been orphans who have nobody. I mean, at least I had a mom who stood by me, and I'll say, with no hesitation, no shame, that her faith that was installed in me, her belief in God, allowed me to be in this strength position. Even if I didn't understand why this God that my mom, loves so much, allowed this pain, this trauma, this hurt, like why? And today I even have like a video on my Instagram that I talk about the bigger picture. All this has prepared me and led me to be able to, in quote unquote with me, say I'm tough, and not saying that I'm unbreakable, but to a certain point, if I've already lived hell on earth, like what else more can I, be complaining about or endure, So therefore, I feel that everything gave me that tough skin. And my mom, she had to provide, she had to do it. So I had to be home with my 6-year-old brother, learn how to cook, iron, go do laundry, pay the bills. My mom didn't know the language, so I had to translate for her. Right. So, therefore, it was like, I became a young adult at a little kid age, so...
forced to grow up.
Right. And I think that it depends really on how the perception that you take on life, right? Because there's people that could go downhill and say, man, like my life is shit and like there's no point to it. And boom, like, and they end up there. And then there's people that are like, you know what? I'm not the first or the last in this situation. Like, that's unfortunate, but I'm not, And so what can I do? I can't sit there and be the victim of my parents' mistakes or their own unhealed trauma, and then I gotta continue it. And even though at some point I did continue it, there's a time where you're like, man, I can't hide behind the fact that, I'm gonna keep being this victim. I didn't have my dad, I didn't have this.
Damn it.
I cannot.
Listen, you guys, are you fucking listening to this fucking show? Like, fucking clear out your earbuds.
Right.
She's talking about the fucking narrative. Your fucking narrative, all right? Every single human being has their own fucking theme song going on in their head.
Right.
And it's either the narrative of the victim, right? Either you can be a fucking victim and all this shit puts you in this place, or you're not. Or you're gonna fucking grow up and be accountable, take responsibility for your motherfucking ass.
Well,
who came to this fucking planet alone. And because I don't care how many kids, parents, loved ones, great friends I surround myself, nobody is gonna fucking do it for me, bro. Nobody's gonna pick me up off the ground and save my motherfucking ass except me.
Well,
And just the fact that you're just talking about, it's like,
as a woman, it's refreshing.
Dude,
listen,
man, dude, it's narrative.
Are you married, Bernice? Are you married?
I am married.
All right. Does your husband? You got your husband on the? I mean, does he? He's like, he can't complain to you, right? He can't just be like, hey, Bernice, I don't like my job. I gotta fucking hit some 40 hours. You tell him, like, fucking man up. What do you mean?
And you know what? I will give credit where credit's due. I think that God places two strong people together. My husband did 12 years in prison, and he was sentenced at a very young age, left his like youth out on the streets, and when he came home, I mean, he's only been home for a year and a half, and within the first year, he's an entrepreneur, he's a businessman, he's came and stepped in all the way. So I think you make what you make out of what your circumstances. Like, I hear all these people are like, oh, when I come out, I'm gonna change. No, the change starts within. The change starts in your mind. You could relocate wherever the fuck you want in the world, but you carry you wherever you go. So where is the rehabilitation of your own. Like, when do you start loving you? You know, when do you start putting you first in accountability? Like, you know, you said, as far as like, I can't keep being this product and hiding behind the product of my environment, the product of my lifestyle, the product of, like, I cannot. So I don't go easy on like people that are like, oh, poor me, because it's like, we all have a story. We all have pain. But what is it you do with that?
All right. So at some point, Berenice, however the fuck you want to say it, right? You had to make a change, right? You're telling us all about some, you know, you got some. So where were you at, right? And then how did you stop blaming? And then how did you say, fuck it, I'm going to become a casting director? For real. For real.
So it's ironically, I got into substance abuse counseling, like, as far as, not because I was the addict, but I wasn't the addict of substances. I was the addict of the lifestyle, right? Like, I like the chase of pain and then feeling like bad for myself, and then you come console me type shit, you know? So it was a repetitive. Yeah, it was repetitive. Like the drama. Yeah, you know, and I think that growing up the way I grew up, it was like, well, that's all I knew. So why wouldn't I want that? You know?
I don't know. Some people know it and they don't want it. What is it about you that likes it?
Well, at that point, it was like, I felt that was the only time the attention was on me. You know, so if I act out, then, you know, I'm gonna get the attention. It's like a little kid. If he doesn't act out or whatever, then you kind of mind his own business, whatever. But if he acts out, your attention is directed to that kid, you know. And it's like, hey, what the heck? So he got what he wanted. He wanted attention. Most of these kids act out because they want attention, nothing else. But, you know, with me, where it came about was like, just seeing the strongest woman in my life, which was my mother, become so fragile, so weak when she got sick with, you know, kidney disease and diabetes. And here's this lady that not once did she complain. Not once did she not want to get up to go to work. Not once. And she did everything she did for us to provide for, you know, and even I became a mom early age in my life. How old were you? I was 15 years old.
When you were a mom?
Yes. I had my son, my first son at 15.
All right.
Then I had my daughter at 19. So I was, you know, a teen.
What's it like
having a kid? Having a kid.
Yeah,
but you know what? Listen, I'm not advocating 15-year-olds to have children. But I just had a baby now at the age that I'm at, and I can see a kind of sense to being young enough to have energy and not enough foresight for worry that it might make sense to have kids like in your 20s, young, right? Get it all over.
Yeah.
And then by the time you're 40, they're already grown up and everything, right? And now you can.
I agree with that.
So what is it like to be 15 years old and have a baby? So does that mean, were you pregnant at 14?
Well, actually, my son was premature, so I was pregnant 15, and I had him at 15, so I didn't really get to cross over the whole 9 months. I had my son when I was only 6 months pregnant, so he was a preemie baby. It was
C-section?
No, it was regular, natural birth. He was 2 pounds in the NICU.
Yeah,
and
how does it feel to be like you're a young mother? How does that feel? Take us through those emotions.
You know, it feels like your whole life is like on hold for this like little person, and in the midst of it, you're still trying to figure out who you are, where are you know, where are you going? You still want to be a teenager, you still want to have a teenage life, but then you have to be responsible. So then it's like, okay, and then what became even harder is at 15 nobody's hiring, so I'm, you know, I have to wait 16 years old to at least get something like at, you know, somewhere. So at that time I knew what I know how to do. You know, I commit fraud, I sell dope, I do whatever I gotta do.
What's young mother fraud look like? Is that like fake checks or like what is that?
Yeah, credit card fraud, you know, fake checks. You know, I've always been savvy with technology, so it became like, how do I hack into people's stuff? Like, how can I embezzle things?
Hey, hold on, let me change this. Let me change the password on my computer over here.
No, but you know, so it becomes like all these things, and then not only that, but then it's like, do I tell my friends or I don't tell my friends? Because then, the criticizing, and then you feel even some shame for like your family, right? Like your mom, because she's doing everything she has to do, but then, you kind of disappoint her in like, what the hell, where did I go wrong? But, what I say this also is I don't blame my mother for being a teen mom. Like it's not like she was quiet about, safe sex. She was very open about that. She had very open communication. Now I did what I did and I was just stupid, and I ended up pregnant, and so at that time, I didn't comprehend that I had to make a different transition at that point. So when I had my son, I was still on the block, still pushing him in a stroller, like trying to gangbang, like dodging bullets, pushing strollers, and I'm thinking in my mentality, my 15-year-old active ass, right? I'm thinking, well, I have a son. I'm going to raise him to be like also like hood and survive mode,
Tupac part two.
Right, and you fantasize about this shit. And then when you realize like how crucial and how detrimental losing a son or a daughter to that life could be, you're like, what the hell am I doing? Know? And again, at 19, then becoming a mom at 19, you would think, all right, you got 2 kids, like slow the hell down, you know? And then that was a different type of trauma because the unhealthy relationships, right? So now I'm with a 5-year-old and a newborn walking down Skid Row looking for my daughter's father because he took off with my car or like my money or whatever. And so then I'm exposing my kids to that. And then, and that's a whole different type of trauma. And, sometimes even walking into my own house and having him like OD'd or something, and then I'm like, and then having the neighbor to like watch my kids because the paramedics are coming and I don't want nothing to happen.
This is where shit cycles.
So
this is
passed
real
on and on.
Yeah, but this is real shit. I mean, this is actually real shit.
And it happens, and I think like even with all that, like you're still trying to find yourself. Like I was still trying to find myself because everything came to a complete stop. Like, okay, well, I had to leave my high school. I had to go to like home studies because I was a liability to my high school because I was out there gangbanging on campus, and they didn't want to be responsible. Then, so having to associate with other teen moms, but that didn't know the lifestyle I had. So it kind of like was like, no, I don't belong here. And then just, having to provide. And even though my mom said, just stay in school, I got this, but stay in school. I felt like a piece of shit not bringing anything home to provide for my kid, So even if it was stolen shit, like I wanted to bring something home, and that's where, things started where I wanted to understand my partner at the time of like, why is the needle more important than your family? Or why? And it became like I had to relive the trauma as a kid with my own dad. Of course. Right. And so I wanted to prevent that from my own daughter. Right. And so therefore it's like, how can I save him so she could have a better life? How can I do this so she could, and in the midst of it, I lost me completely. I stopped hanging out with even some of my own family members, some of my best friends. So because that became my world. Like, how do I save this person so I could have something better that I fantasize about, right?
So this is a very interesting point that you're bringing up. You're saying like, look, my personal father chose something over me. Right. And that cut me deep. Now I've got a little girl and she's got a dad. Right. And it's up to me right now to prevent what happened to me happening to her. Right. And that is, on the one hand, at the surface level, it's a noble endeavor because it's like you're trying to do something like good for your daughter. The flip side is you're coming to grips with the fact that maybe it's actually better that a parent isn't in the life of a child, as damaging as that is. If this person that's constantly with the needle, maybe it's better. And while your daughter might not understand that, that's a development, that's an advancement of the journey you're going through. Correct. That maybe it was better, as bad as it was, that my dad moved on because he was drinking or whatever he was doing. Right. So you're learning a much more complicated, much more adult lesson.
Right. And, you know, I had my brother who, after 14 years, came out of prison, and they deported him to TJ. And I went to TJ one of those days, and he had heard through the grapevine, like, how I was being treated, the stuff that I was doing. And I never brought it up to the attention of my brothers because, you know, as a brother and in that lifestyle, you want to go in and kick somebody's ass. And why, if I knew I wasn't going to leave, you know? So why am I going to cause that? So when he came out, one thing that sat with me, and he said, you don't have to answer me right now, but I want to ask you something and let that shit marinate. And I said, what? And he's like, do you prefer a broken home or a broken family? Like, what do you prefer? And I didn't comprehend that, you know? And I was like, huh? You know? And so a week later, I went back to TJ, and because I would take him groceries and stuff. And I sat with him and I said, can you elaborate on, like, what the hell you, because I've been thinking, and to me it's the same thing, right? Like, in my mind. And he's like, well, it's not. Like, a broken home, you're in the same home, but you're adding cats and dogs, you're trying to do that, and you're exposing the kids to something. But a broken family, yeah, you live separately, you're still a family, but you're in a separate situation. So it's not there, you know? And so that hit where it was like, you know what? Now I understood why my mom was so adamant about not going back the last time, you know, because we were growing up, we were seeing more things as, you know, we were being more woke about things. And the last thing she wanted was for us to have any type of like hate towards my dad, you know? And one thing I do thank my mom was she never talked down about that man. She never like insulted him. She never took the ability of him being a father to us. She always made sure that, you know, if you do want to come pick them up, let me know. She carried herself like a true woman. She never used us as a weapon towards my dad. And when I was in that same situation with my daughter, till this day, I'm in that situation. And with my son's father, when he came back into his life after 8 years, I wasn't like, well, where's all that child support and why? Like, I just said, I am glad that you are back. I don't give a shit about your money because I got this, but create some memories, create some quality time with these kids, because this is what's going to stay forever. I don't give a shit how much money you give a kid or how much materialistic shit. That doesn't mean anything if there's no quality time, nothing like a good memory, a good conversation, a good moment with that parent. That's why, as jacked up as it sounds, you see all these little rich kids, you know, being all destructive and shit because, yeah, you have everything, but you don't have what's important, which is the attention, which is the quality time.
I've worked with a lot of like super rich kids, right? In chemical addiction and a lot more problems than that. And when I sit down and I ask them, like, you know, what was the most like, what kind of good shit did you get? And they're like, man, most of these dudes are like, I can't even remember, man. There was so much shit to go, but I don't even remember. And I go, what do you remember? They're like, I remember when my dad one time came to this baseball game that I played at, or showed up at this little graduate. Like, that's the stuff. And they were getting cars and all these crazy trips. Right. And what they remember is time spent with that, when they had that individual's attention. Right. That's what sticks, you know. And it's crazy, man. And you know what? God bless you. Most relationships that I know about, that I've watched, kids are getting played as pawns. It's not about the kids. That's the whole problem. It's nobody's thinking about the kids. It's the adults' hang-ups with what they got. Right. And my ex-wife, who's a saint, Jessica, she's like one of my best friends. She had every right to hate my guts. If a woman had a right to hate and want to play games and fucking be evil, she did. Not once, bro. Not once. She never kept me. Even when I was a complete mess out of my mind, she's like, you can come over here. My kids ain't getting in no car. You're not going over. But you come, the doors are, you can sleep on the couch here with the kids. You know what I'm saying? And never, ever once. She brought I had left her, divorced her. And she brought my kids up every month to see me in prison. You know, she never stopped, never talked bad, and I think that in itself, demonstrating that in itself changes the dynamics of how your kids are going to be.
Oh, of course. I mean, it came to the point, and I know that people don't hear this often, but like with my son's dad, when he came back into the picture, I was already moved on. I was with my daughter's dad. And I remember his new partner, when they would get into it, like she would call me and was like, dude, like this guy don't listen to, can you talk to him? And I'll be like, all right, put him on the phone. And I'll be like, hey man, like chill with her. Like if there's somebody putting up with shit, like it's her, like relax. And I'm like, look, how about this weekend you come over, we all have like a barbecue or something. So my son's dad used to come over, congregate with my daughter's dad. And like, I was never the type to like shut the door on like his new partner or anything like that, because one, it was a behavior that I also saw my mom do, right? So she never pushed anybody away. But I understood that I did a better service to my kids being mature in that way, instead of them feeling like, well, should I talk about my dad around this stepdad? Or should I do this? Should I do that? And then you start installing more stress on them that they even don't need. Exactly. So like I was... and then after, when I separated myself from my daughter's dad, I remember having my son's dad, before he passed away, rest in peace, like telling me like, man, you should give him a chance. Like he's a good dude. And I'm like, dude, like you guys co-sign each other's shit because you guys are on the same boat, But like I had to do better for myself. Like it's not that he's a bad man. It's just that I can't compete with drugs. I can't compete with that lifestyle. I need to separate myself from that and do and expose my kids to something better. And now when he gets his shit together and he's good, then he knows the doors are open. He knows what number to call. He knows where I'll recite. Like and his kids will always be, there. And that's something that I take pride in fully, because I've never had to be that type to, play chess with my kid. Oh, here, I'm going to make this move because that's going to hurt him. Man. What people don't understand, these women don't understand, is that you cause more damage to that kid than anybody else.
Right.
And like I refuse. I mean, as already the lifestyle that I already provided for my kids, I thought they were already enough pain. So why am I going to do that extra to them?
Because he don't listen. The guy, there's a lot of women out there that are pretty upset about they put in all this work on the kids. I've talked to some of them, and they're like, now he wants to show up when it's easy.
But it takes two to have kids.
Man.
And if one doesn't step up, then guess what? It's your job to be a woman, grab yourself and
listen,
raise these kids.
I'm not trying to take the opposite position at all. But I talked to my wife, right? And she had the baby. And I put in a lot of work too. I mean, I'm hearing all that other kind of stuff. And even when you got an active father, there's a limit as to how much a dad can do when the baby goes from just one single cell all the way to coming out the uterus. That's the whole thing.
Right.
And then that first year, right? I mean, what can I do? I can change the diaper. But, I mean, when the baby's crying and it wants the breast milk, and my wife was all about the natural breast milk shit, she would not have any formula near that baby, right? And that's why my baby is 25 pounds and 6'2". Anyway, but the point is right? And I work, I support her, I support the baby, I'm doing all that stuff, right?
Right.
But all of that still doesn't quite measure up to what my wife's got to go through. She hasn't had a full night's sleep probably in about a year and a half, 2 years, whatever that is. Do you disagree with any of that so far that I've said, Berenice?
No.
Okay, so I'm a man. I understand that I have to have an actual person who's gone through the process validate what I'm saying.
Right.
All right. I'm not trying to speak for women, because I know I can't do that. I don't have ovaries. I don't have breasts. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Now,
you got little breasts.
I got some breasts, and it confuses my daughter. It does. She
sees Chichi.
No, she's my little girl Tigra. When I carry her and I got the tank top on. No, she sticks her hand down my shirt like she does the mama, and she grabs my pec, and she's like, and then when my shirt
thing's empty. What the hell?
When she looks at me, and like if I have my shirt off and she looks at my breast, like she looks at it and she's like, she does. She gets a confused look on her
face. What are those fucking things?
Like, what are you trying to do with that? This is a fucking joke? Where's the fucking food in those things?
Yeah. Bring me the bottles.
Sometimes she points at it and she's like, we taught her, we're doing the baby sign language. So we taught her what? Which is like, you take your hands and go like this. She's pointed at my breast. She's pointed at me and went like, what? Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? So that's a dad that's involved.
Right.
Okay. And then you have a dad that's not involved. So sometimes when I talk to women, they say it's really fucked up because at the time the kid's 5, 6, 7, it's not easy, but it's a lot easier than it was when the baby was 1 or 2.
Correct.
And I needed the most help back then. Now this motherfucker wants to show up and fucking coast, and he's a hero to the 5 to 6-year-old. Why? Because he came back, and because he doesn't have to discipline. Right? When you're the mom and you got to tell the kid, like, I'm sorry. But
No.
Right.
Yeah, right? When then Happy Dad shows up for, like, Saturday.
Yeah.
And it's
But,
all...
so
all that.
let me elaborate on
Do
that
it.
because I remember years of therapy and self work.
Go ahead.
I asked, and my mom never understood because she would be like, well, "You always get so happy like when your dad's around, and I'm the one here busting my ass, right?"
Right.
And then that became my mindset when like my daughter, sees her dad and is like, there's nothing wrong with this man, and then I asked my therapist and I was like, why is it that it's like this, if I'm the one there? And she said, that's exactly the reason. When you have an absent parent come back into the home, all you could do for that kid, even though they might be resentful or whatever, all they want to do at that point is embrace because they don't know how long this person's going to be around. So why am I going to be resentful? Why am I going to act like a jerk ass kid? I'm just going to embrace because at least I know one parent's not going anywhere, so I could treat mom however, and she already showed me that she's not going nowhere. She's there, she's stable, she's whatever.
I know
and
that's
then,
mature. What you're saying is mature, but it still doesn't sound right to me.
No, it doesn't. But in a child's mentality, I think that if you do go that hard on a parent and then they don't come back, then there you sit again with like, did I do something wrong? Which they did not do anything wrong. But I think, like, at least for me, when the times I got to see my dad, that hurt or that hate would go away because I just wanted my dad,
Right,
you know?
right.
And I knew that mom's was there no matter what. So I felt, I guess, like the freedom of, well, I could be real with my mom and she's not gonna go anywhere.
Right.
With even now living it with my daughter, there's times my daughter has some heartfelt moments she wants to tell her dad, and she will tell me, I don't want to hurt my dad. I don't want him to go back on drugs. I don't want him to. And the thing is, like, why should you be sensitive to this man's feelings?
Right.
Like,
God damn.
but I get like where her thinking is, and it's jacked up, but a lot of kids do think that way. Like,
Right.
I could only love because if I don't and they're gone or they leave again, I lost that chance of loving or having some type
they're
of
kind of held
embracement.
hostage by it.
Yeah. Okay. So, Berenice, did you have a nickname or I don't know. Did you have a hood name or a nickname?
Yeah.
What was it? Come on.
Well, my brothers gave me the nickname of Snapper.
Snapper. Hey, Snapper.
Yeah, why?
They should snap on you.
What was the
Yeah.
what was the reason they called you
You know,
Snapper?
it's funny because despite of all of my brothers and all the stuff, I'm the easiest triggered. Like, I felt I had so much rage and everything that if my brothers just looked at me and gave me a signal, like, to go beat someone, like, I was on it because I had so much anger to take out that I was like, hell yeah, like, this is how
You
I'm
ever
gonna
beat
take
up a
it.
guy? You ever
Yes.
fuck up a dude?
Yes, I have.
You have fucked up a
Yes,
dude.
I have. Yes.
And do you find that there's now? Look, you can just not answer. 'Cause I don't want you to snap on me, but I'm just gonna ask you for. Hey, have you found that there is a certain type of guy that's sexually attracted to you because you are a snapper?
You know,
Come
if
on.
it's, okay, I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna sound crazy, but the most unsecure and broken men sometimes are attracted to me. As much as a man says they want an independent woman and all that shit,
Yeah.
when you do show them that, they kind of flee, but they want that. So it's like,
Now, my
wait,
wife
what?
is right there with you. She's like, I talk to all these guys. They want an independent. Because before me, she was kind of like a party girl, cocaine, god party night thing. She didn't want to get trapped with any dudes, and she was trying to find like a rich dude, that kind of chick, right? All right, like whatever. A lot of Persian limos, or I don't know what the fuck. I don't ask too many questions. But anyway, she would be like, okay, this is just a one night. We're gonna, and then she would say these guys would get sappy. And then when she was really independent, that would bother them. They would talk a big game, but then when my wife was like, cool, all right, let's go. And then they'd be texting her, and she'd be like, hey, I thought I told you.
Right.
And then because she said, I thought I told you, they really wanted her. Like, because she seemed like not needy or something. I don't know. Is that true? Do you find that?
I find that a lot. And I think that, there's a reason why I'm married to the man I'm married. Like he's attracted to that, but he knows how to handle that to where he doesn't feel he doesn't. Well, the thing is that you have to be confident in the fact that it's a unit. It's a partnership. I don't make him feel less of a man, and don't put me in a category where I'm supposed to be a woman barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen either. Like, give me that respect. Give me that to where I'm independent. I have a voice. I have my own opinions. I have my own mentality, and I make boss moves. And if you're okay with that, then let's build the empire. If you cannot rock with that, then I'm not going to settle or drop down my standards to make you feel more of a man. You should already be sure of what the hell you are as a man when you walk into a relationship. Sean, and if you don't have that, then
Sean, you're nodding. Did your wife tell you needed to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen? What's going through your head? You're nodding.
No, that's just strong. She knows what she wants.
Yeah. All right, hold on a second. Now let's just slow the fuck down. So you're saying like, hey, I'm gonna make some boss moves and da-da-da. Now, but listen, is there a kind of a guy, and don't bullshit me, Berenice.
Okay.
Don't you fucking bullshit me, snapper.
I won't.
Snapper. Is there a kind of a guy that makes even bigger boss moves that might intimidate you? Who are you? What kind of man scares you?
You know what?
Yeah,
I haven't met that man.
Oh!
I have not.
Right.
I have not. I think, being around so much men in my life, and then again, the woman who raised me, she taught me that you belong in every fucking setting. Don't you ever feel like you got to dumb down, stupid down. Like, if people can't take you. No, but even in the intimidation realm, right? Like, I remember I had to translate for my mom, right? Like, and she worked for artists. She was a housekeeper, and she worked for like Michael Bergen, Tom Irwin, like all these guys. And I would go in there, and one of the things that maybe was intimidating, it wasn't so much because he was a powerful man,
right?
But he was a white man. Maybe that was the part where I was like, but her saying, like, wait, like this person is no better than you, like what, and she always installed in me that this person is no better. Money doesn't make a person more powerful or whatever. And even though they do, but the power is embedded in you, how you carry yourself, you're self-confident. And I've noticed that regardless in the setting I walk in, people want to, like, they turn and they're like, who is this person? And right. I've heard actually the opposite. A lot of men tell me like, oh, you come off a little like intimidating or strong. But I walk into that room like, I own that shit. Why? Because I do deserve to be there, and I do know what I bring to the table, and there's no one or anything that can make me feel that what I'm doing is less than. Like, there's no way in that. And the thing is that when a woman feels that way is because you allow yourself to feel that way. You are in control of your emotions and what people make you feel. So
it's not the guy's fault. So you hear that? You hear that? Yep. It's not the guy's fault that you feel intimidated. It's your fault that you... No, I'm just kidding. But let me ask you this. What about intelligence? You get intimidated by intelligence, and don't lie.
At some points, I will admit that there's other people that know more than me. Yeah. But I think we're all in that same boat. And you would have to be a fool and not wise to not, like, you would be stupid to think that you know everything. Right. So I think just in a setting, in a new setting, maybe it's like, okay, I don't want to say anything that I might sound stupid or like not educated on. So therefore I stay silent, because I rather stay silent than speak and really look like a fool. Yeah. So maybe that's where I'm like, okay, this is new to me. This is maybe a CEO of a corporation or something that I have no clue on how it's ran. So I'm not going to pretend that I'm at that level, yet. But let me learn from this person, and then I could pick something up. But to where I'm intimidated, where I got to flee the room, or I don't want to be in that setting no more, never. I haven't felt that, Mm-hmm. And I think, like, no one, I don't know, like, to me, I would suggest my women and my men, like, don't feel that you have something that other people don't have. If you
Right.
haven't discovered that, then maybe that's where you got to do some internal work. But we all have something that we could bring to the table. And if you feel like someone in that room is better or whatever, then you got to really reflect on you, because you have something there. There's no way you should think you don't belong in a certain setting.
So, how do you become a casting director?
So I, at the time, was working for GRID, Gang Reduction Youth Development for City Hall. And I remember getting a call from a homie we call Big Joel, right? And he was like, hey, there's this white lady, looking for real homies, but I've never dealt with this. I don't know what the hell, who to direct. And I really don't want to refer anybody because I can't vouch for anybody. But you work with the community. You're a case manager. You're a counselor. So you've met some of these guys and you know who's ready and who isn't, right? So we linked up and she said, yeah, for the show Goliath, I need real gang members. And I said, okay, well, I have some, but they've never acted. They don't have headshots. Don't ask me for that. Like, I could bring you 7 dudes and I promise you they'll act right. And she's like, okay, let's take a chance. She said, but with the condition of you being there as a gang consultant, quote unquote babysitter, but consultant. Right. So I was like, okay, sure. So I stood the first day, and then after it was like, well, we have a recall. Can they come again tomorrow? And it was like, okay. So then I called sick again to my job, and I was on set. And being on set, I started talking to different people, how they got into that, like how do this and that.
So hold on. Goliath, in case nobody knows, right? That's Billy Bob Thornton.
Yes.
Right? And that, what was that show about?
He's an alcoholic attorney that's representing, these different cases.
And he's like on his last leg, staying in a hotel. It's actually very good.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And Billy Bob Thornton, did he invite you out for drinks or anything? Did he put his arm around you?
No, the only
Come on,
thing
don't lie.
No,
don't
he
lie.
did not. I won't,
He's
I won't
a master coxman. We all know that from behind the scenes. Okay.
No, he never did. If anything, he wrote a very grateful email saying that some of these guys that were there, really carried themselves professionally, even some better than the background they've had before. And he enjoyed, their company. And he wrote this email, and I don't know if he was aware or not, but it CC'd like different people. And that's where people are like, oh, well, she could bring real this. So then it became like, hey, well, now SWAT wants a deal. Well, now 9/11 wants something. And so it came to where my supervisors at the GRID program were like, you can't keep missing work. Like, that's not a job. And like, to me, it might not be my job, but I'm keeping guys in the community out of the damn street, and I'm providing that. Exactly. So to me, I'm doing my job. I'm case managing, I'm counseling, and I'm showing something different, and I'm employment placement.
Yeah.
So, they weren't agreeing with me missing work. So I just quit. I took a chance and I quit. And I was like, okay, well, now I don't have no income. I don't have nothing, whatever. But this is where I want to be. Like, I was gravitated. So I started talking to different people on there, and then they started like putting the word out. And, so now I've been on SWAT since season 1. I'm their, background consultant, hood guy, girl, connect, whatever. Yeah. And then we went to our first feature, which was Peppermint with Jennifer Gardner and Juan Pablo Rava and Method Man.
Jennifer Gardner try to take you out or anything like that?
No, she was very kind. She took pictures with us at like the release party and the rap party and stuff like that.
Did you have to keep her away from some of the homies because she likes bad boys, or no?
No, she had her bodyguards do their job.
All right.
But no, it was, and that became a setting I was more intrigued by, and I wanted to do more on. And they started calling me back, and the day that I said I want to do this for the rest of my life was the day I remember giving one of the guys a ride back home to his house, and his daughter ran out and was like, oh, you're that lady that puts my dad on shows, and and he's a movie star. And you could have missed this guy by a blink of an eye because he was background, right? But to be able to change a little girl's perception and image of her father, that this tatted down guy from head to toe was no longer that convict she went to go see, or that inmate, or that, you know, criminal, or that lowlife, whatever, but he's an actor, he's a role model. Like, I was artist. Like, I want to be able to provide more kids with a different perception of who we are, or who we are, quote unquote, meant to be, you know? And
wait a second. Let's not gloss over this. Let's be real clear on what's really happening here. Mm-hmm. In your heart, you were like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
Right.
And that came after a little girl's perception about her father changed. Mm-hmm. Coming from where you came from what you perceived about your father.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
So you've made the transition from trying to save one guy who doesn't want to be saved for a little girl,
right,
to saving or helping a lot of fathers and mothers become something much more in the eyes of their children.
Correct.
That's very powerful.
That is powerful. Right. Yeah. And it's no coincidence.
Yep.
I'm glad that you didn't gloss over it. And I feel like when you're on that type of a path, it kind of unveils itself.
Yeah.
Somebody like you are, people are really listening. You're like, all right, let's back this up a second, because this is how this plays out. Listen, I'm not going to take us off that. I'm going to stay on that subject. I'm going to say, when I was a kid, my parents didn't have the money to get me the stuff that I wanted to wear to go to school. But all the other kids did, a lot of white kids and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I got made fun of and clowned and humiliated, and you know?
Right.
And until I was old enough to start stealing my own shit, I started having, and I'd have to bury the shit like at a friend's house or in the bushes, and then switch into it when I leave, because I couldn't come in with fucking stolen shit, you know? But as I got into apparel, bro, and started making stuff, part of me was like, I'm going to make all the cool shit that I want, so I always have it. But after the first thing that we made and it started getting popular, it was my friends' kids that I was able to give, like, when I was building Famous Stars and Straps or the Hundreds.
Like Lepke Jr.
Right. And I started, once I gave the first package to one of my buddies who was a homie. He didn't make hardly any money. They didn't have money. And his kid wanted, like, that name brand thing, right?
Yeah.
I was able to fucking bless that kid for the next fucking 5 years. He had, like, the limited edition. But that feeling of seeing a kid that wasn't going to get it any other way, have that, and the way he felt about himself, and going to school and excited. Like, to me, I knew what that was like to not have that. And it became a passion in me in apparel that I spent all my time trying to hook up everybody's kids all the time. But it's that similar thing where you, like, I took some feeling that was missing.
All right, here's the thing, guys. The show's about getting centered and grounded. And one of the things that we need to talk about is our sponsor, Botany Farms. Botany Farms. Right? Botany Farms, they hand curate, they micro grow. I don't know how you do it more focused than that. This is the best thing that you can do if you want to get yourself centered, grounded, have better sleep. Steve and I obviously are sober, but the one who isn't is Old Blue Eyes. Yeah. What is it that you noticed? Did it actually help you?
Yes. Usually I stay up late at night doing all my editing. And sometimes it's hard to fall asleep because I've been on the computer.
Yeah, all that blue light fucks with your sleep. It suppresses melatonin, actually.
Right.
So then what did you do? You tried the Botany Farms?
Dude, I tried this sour space candy.
Yeah. Did it help you sleep?
Like a baby.
All natural, organically grown, non-GMO ingredients, no pesticides, no fungicides, straight up natural. www.botanyfarms.com. Don't forget promo code LUCKY17, 25% off your first order. They believe in the show, so you believe in them. Boom. Let's have GJ Muggs smoke some of this shit.
When I was a kid and wanted to end up being a solution to that thing. And when you tell me that, it's very much like Chumahan said.
Right.
I mean, it's without a doubt spot on. You don't end up there without these pieces that lead to it. You know, it's interesting.
It is
And you might be doing it unconscious,
I'm sure,
while you're doing it,
Berenice didn't, initially start off thinking like, I'm going to make heroes out of all of the parents of these kids, because I was denied that. But I'm sure at some point along the journey, she realized that was happening as a result of the work she was doing.
I think it's beautiful.
I did too.
Great, man.
Almost as beautiful as Berenice, except for my wife, who I love.
That's right.
Yeah. You would definitely be falling into a category where my partner here would be trying to ask you out.
Listen, I can't speak to that because I'm not going to disrespect my wife. But I can tell you, Berenice definitely deserves to have a very strong gentleman in her life for sure.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you, so you just went through your cycle, and Berenice, we just talked about your cycle.
Yeah, let's hear yours.
Well, I'm asking you. What do I do? Like, how is that related to...
Well, no, I'm going to tell you.
So just a quick backstory for Berenice. I grew up without a mom. She was around, but she was not in my life. Okay, so all right, go.
Okay, so
What's your theory?
And I'm going to tell you right now, I think that Chumahan is a very deep person with many levels. And I think what he does... He's not only doing it for the underdogs that he feels he was, or his people, or all that. I'm gonna bring it to one. I'm gonna give you one example because there's many threads to this guy, and we talked about it earlier. And he grew up in a household where the woman left, and he was raised with his dad. And his dad, there was a lot of stuff going, but there was no. And if there was a female there for a second, Chumahan would latch onto it and But there was just men. No women. And he was raised his whole life with his dad like that. And now he lives in a household where it's his mother-in-law, his wife, and his daughter. He is and he's the happiest guy because he's surrounded by women. Now, I don't believe that a guy like you accidentally stumbles into a home of all women. You get a taste of it, you liked it. Oh, the mom? Great. Oh, we're having a girl? Great. Like, the more the merrier, because you want that in your life. He wants a woman. He wants that softness and smells good when I come in. And these are all the things he didn't have as a child. So it's kind of like you end up with a solution and not by accident. You're healing. You're moving towards whatever heals you in one way or another. So that's just one, but Sean, there's many with you.
Sean, you also know me for a very long time. Do you have a sense of like sort of how I started, and then like sort of because I was thinking about what you said, Steve, about the podcast. We were talking about this not too long ago, where you were like, yeah, the passion that you have for this podcast really comes across. And I think about how I'm also a full-time attorney with my own law firm, and like how much time do I really have energy to put into our podcast? I don't have as much as I really would like, right? If I had my choice, I'd be fucking up every night setting up the YouTube hits, the fucking all the research. I would have been able to do a full thing on Berenice and then be able to ask some really funny ass fucking questions, all that other shit, right? But I don't have that time. So I was thinking about that, and I'm like, what is this podcast to me? To me, what does it mean to me that we have people come in, everyone from Lepke to Bernice to John Chase, who if you're listening to this, you probably already heard the John Chase, but that was a great fucking show. So I'm trying to think, Sean, you've known me for 20 years, maybe longer. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I have a question for you.
Go ahead, you crazy fuck.
Would you leave the law practice, if the show would support you?
This dude's got three things that might support him. Of course he is.
You know what? I would. In fact, in working on H2K, I'm going to tell you this. All right.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Tell the truth.
God damn it.
This motherfucker's a screenplay writer by
Jesus
fucking
Christ.
trait, bro. This is a creative writer.
So what I would say is this, and I've really been thinking a lot about this for the last year and a half. There's an intersection between my practice of law, this podcast, writing. Right? There's an intersection. And the intersection is talking and exploring the human experience and really trying to get as real as possible. Breaking through a bunch of fucking bullshit. Mm-hmm. And when you grow up on a reservation and you're American Indian and you're thinking about this country, it's like really hard. Like it's really fucking hard to not think about that there's alternate versions of reality that could have been, right? Like there could have been, and I don't even mean like when I say things like that, I don't really mean like an us versus them either. I don't think like, well, what would have happened if, the Indians would have destroyed the whites? Where would we be now? Right? I don't think like that, actually. What I really think is, what if you took the best part of the Western world and the best part of the American Indian world, and you were to, without anyone keeping score, bring that together and create something better? Mm. I just got super emotional.
Why does that bring up emotion for you?
I think that's what I've been thinking about my entire life. I don't believe that, as much as I believe in like civil rights, because I do, I don't really believe the final answer is that, white people don't have any rights either. I really don't believe that. And I don't believe that even the oppressors, if you want to call them that, I don't believe that they don't have something to give. Mm-hmm. So I keep thinking like, like it doesn't have to be this way, really. Mm-hmm. And part of it is like being honest about the history, and part of it is about being honest. And when I say being honest about history, I don't just mean like what they keep out of history books, but I also mean like, white medicine being something positive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right? And I think, man, I don't know what just happened, but I think that that's the promise of America to me, is that. Like, I don't think you can get to a perfect country or a perfect way of living or a perfect culture or a utopian or a happy society just in like 250 years from Europe and American Indians and African Americans and whoever else clashing and fighting. It's too short. You got too much. You're just too close to kings and queens, and any which way you slice it, kings and queens are oppressive. You don't have to be a person of color to have been oppressed by a king or a queen.
You know what, though, Chuma? What you say rings true, because him in this show and on all his platforms and the way he interviews people and the stories he tells is like, one thing Schumahan can't stand is people unwilling to bring their A game. Mm-hmm. Settling, giving their best. And I think ultimately you demonstrate a very high level. Do you agree, Schumahan? Of showing up as a father, a businessman, a screenwriter. Everything everybody puts in front of you, you fucking bring like this high level. And you want other people to recognize their power and their ability. And you demonstrate it through the way you live. And these stories of the human experience and the human journey, you want to bring to the forefront in a certain way to show them. And I think at the same time, you're showing yourself. I have to bring my best.
I think part of it, too, is that my father just died in bed, man. And he died at 58 from obesity and alcoholism. And I think he was a brilliant guy. He had a lot of interests. He was a terrible father, but also a good father. So I think on some level, my thought about helping people to be real and to realize their better selves is really about probably just saving him. So Anyway, that's all right. Well, thanks for making me cry, Sean. What the fuck?
No, that was Berenice made you cry, bro. Yeah, she brought her energy. It was the estrogen that came into the room.
Berenice looks like she makes people smile.
Yeah, she keeps it real.
So how hard is it? How hard is it? You've been
wait, hold on. Because I want to take it back because she really did risk a lot by quitting her job.
Yep,
I wanted to too.
Yeah,
I wanted to too. Yeah, because you went over that real quick.
She did.
So I took a walking away from the safety cord, umbilical cord of. I always say to people, if you want to stay safe, you go ahead and do that. You stay right there, stay safe, and stay broke. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
At some point in time, there's a step that you have to take off, and there's no steps there. You're stepping into the invisible. You're taking a chance.
No guarantee.
Talk about that.
Well, I think I always refrain back to my faith, right? Because I was like, I feel like if I do God's, my higher power, however people perceive work, then I won't go without. And till this day, I have not gone without, and there's been times where I look at my bills and I'm like, what the hell, how did I make that happen? And I think that my reward, of course, everybody needs a job, money handle, to survive. But I think I was okay at that point, and I'll be transparent. I was okay with jumping on public assistance and going back on food stamps for a minute, until I figure this shit out, and it was all right. Let me do that, and see the struggle, whatever it is. It's not like I haven't experienced a struggle,
Right.
So I've been there, done that. So, and I started moving forward, and then these producers and PAs, they started talking highly of me, and they were like, hey, why aren't you getting paid for this, and I'm just like I didn't know I could get paid for being a consultant and just being here sitting with some of the guys, right? And so they were like, no, we could definitely do that, and so things started going that route. But I don't believe that people grow from their comfort zone,
I don't know.
There's no challenge in remaining to what because if you're settled and you become a conformist, you conform, maybe I get, assistance once a month and I'm okay with that, or check once a month and I'm okay with that, or I'm all right staying on, in this house and, fuck it, even if there's chaos down the street, and you conform, but I think that, you have to, at one point, you have to take a risk on what you believe in, and I believe in opening a different world to our people that deserve to also be in those red carpets, those events, be in the spotlight, because we're still in the spotlight anyway in the media, but it's always negative, you know? So it's no, let's change the narrative of that. Let's change how people perceive us. And I respect Manny a lot for the work that he's done. And, just when he's the one that reached out to me one day and he's like, I've been watching you and I want to sit down with you. And that was an honor in itself. I didn't get into this for clout. I didn't get into this because I'm going to meet famous people, because truth be told, I met famous people through my mom being a housekeeper, and that didn't change anything. It just, they're people, they're human beings, and so at that point, the purpose was bigger and every time I started going on set, people were like, well, why do you represent those kind of people or this and that? And I'm just like, well, check this out. To me, it's like this. It's not just creating a career path or a money, income source. It's more life and death, So if I have a group of gentlemen on set for 10, 12 hours, that's 10, 12 hours that cops are not harassing them. They're not shooting at each other. They're not letting, ideal minds is the devil's playground, so if you're sitting there doing nothing, then most likely you're going to get into some shit, so if I'm able to provide a space where someone feels like they're an asset, even if it's background to a project, then they're not going to want to miss the next project, and that'll keep somebody from reframing into a destructive path where, like, man, if I get busted, I might miss the next audition, or I might miss the next opportunity, or I might. So to me, it's deeper than just a paycheck, than just, what I'm doing, be recognized. The recognition and the validation I don't get from the guys and from anyone. I get that validation and recognition from my higher power,
right?
And I always feel that that's always the source, because without your faith or without some type of hope, then we're destined to fail if you don't hold on to some type of hope, and the hope of being able to bring a different environment to these guys and put them in a setting that, I get a lot of shit there. People are, well, they're still playing gang members. Okay, yeah, but guess what? If they're being offered a job, am I going to tell you not to fucking take it? Like, because
wait, so do you get haters that tell you, like, yeah, but you're just creating more stereotypes?
All the time. But what people don't understand is there's a step to everything,
right?
Right. And if for the moment, if it takes for me to play a gang member to get in the door, I'll play that gang member to get in that door.
Yeah. Right.
And then you start networking, and then you start, I've only been in this field, literally, my anniversary was July 13th, 3 years. It's recent, 3 years. And in 3 years, I've impacted like over 300 gang members, Right. Mm-hmm. And some of these guys have gone into lead roles now. Some are doing speaking roles. Some are doing auditions. One youngster just literally, and you met him, David McGill. He just, won Best Actor in Italy for a short film that he was in. And what I ended up doing was I started, people weren't going to come out their pocket because of, again, the same stereotype, and these are a bunch of lames and all of that. But people could talk all they want to talk, because again, these guys don't have to prove themselves to nobody. They already put their work in the streets. The paperwork says it all, and just, whatever. But they want to do something different. So I wasn't going to be that one person that was going to keep them held on to their past. Like, right. People done that shit to us. So, you're that convict. Your background. Man, that's not who I am no more. Like, give me that chance to prove to you who the hell I could be, and I just wanted to provide that space. So when that came about, I started, making a little bit of money here and there. And there was times where projects were coming in like, hey, I can't afford you as a consultant or as this and that, but I do have a budget for the guys. Hey, and fuck it. Like, I would be like, all right, let's take it. Let's do it. As long as they're providing something, and, I believe that my consistency and like my faith and, in my higher power has been able to give me, in my eyes, I consider myself successful. And not because, and if you look at my page, it's like I have this big old following or none of that shit, but I've been doing the work before Instagram, before Facebook, like, and I know that when I die, I know I touched like very many hearts, and that's what I want to leave. People are not going to define me for what the hell who follows me or what post I put on social media. It's going to be what I've touched, the messages, the advice, the life experience, the trips. I end up doing fundraisers, and the first fundraiser I had, we were able to raise enough money, and I was able to send 4 of our team members to acting class for 4 months.
So on that, right. Let's just do kind of a little bit of a lightning round. First and foremost, how do any of the people that there are some of them they've never acted before,
right?
And they're really being requested not really to act in a sense, right?
Right.
They're going to be the authentic article. Mm-hmm. What kind of advice do you give those folks when they start to freak out? Like, hey, I don't know how to do this.
Well, I've had a few guys actually say that, and I'm just like, okay, what role are you playing right now, right? And they're like, well, I'm the gangster, I'm the cartel. Well, aren't you that in real life anyway, And they're like, okay, so we're just in a different setting. We're just on a different set, So, You don't have to act like you're different. Like, bring yourself, you know? But what I do teach is the ethical component. Don't be all loud and obnoxious and bring that hood mentality into set. Like, if you want to be treated with respect and professional, act accordingly.
Have you actually had to pull someone aside and say, hey, calm down behind? When the camera's not rolling, knock it off.
Yeah. So I had, and it, you know, and it's sad, but it was an older gentleman, you know, a veterano, and I was just like, you know, because he was trying to do the extras and trying to like prove, and I was like, nah, that's not gonna fly, you know, like you can't be acting like that. I mean, as it is, because the way I feel is that we're already viewed as something different, you know? So to come and validate their thoughts, it's like you're feeding into it. So
do the
stop.
veteranos actually listen to you because you're a woman? Do they go like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
You know, that particular gentleman, he was a little stubborn. So what I ended up doing is I had to hold my position and say, you know what, we're going to wrap this day, but I'm not calling you back. And I promise you that, you know, and I follow through with what I said.
Or it's gonna be the last time you're ever on a set with me.
And
I love it.
But and I've made these rules, you know, and my guys know I have veteranos in my team today, you know, and they know you come on time. Don't, if you're scheduled to be there, be there.
But isn't it true? I'm not going to speak for all Latinos, but I'm part of a Latino family. Okay. All right now. I'm married in.
All right.
And sometimes I say we're doing it at 3:00, which to them means 4:30. Mm-hmm. Right? They're gonna start getting ready at 3.
Right.
So I gotta tell them like, hey, we're having it at 1:30. Do you have to deal with that?
At the beginning, I did. You know, I did, but I think I started setting the tone when I started sending people home. You know, and they got there late, and I was like, oh, well, call time was 6 a.m. and it's 8:00. Yeah, I don't need you no more. And, you know, and it wasn't like, oh, but, because if I'm trying to set a professional tone and really install life skills, because it's basic life skills.
That's right.
You know, onto our people, then I'm not going to be lenient or enable the behavior so we could still be placed in the unethical realm, because it's not, if I could do it, I have 2 kids, I'm married, I run a business, and I could still be somewhere on time and deliver that, then you should have no damn excuse for it not to apply with you that way. And plus, you're really being handed an opportunity. So you're really going to F that up because you can't show up on time. And if you do, hey, that's on you, but you'll be watching us from afar. Right. And when you're ready to act right, maybe we could work this again. But in the meantime, I can't jeopardize the bridges I'm building because one person wants to be lazy out of bed. To me, it's like this. If you've been a drug addict and you have to go get that fix at 5 a.m, go stroll, go whatever, go come up, whatever, you could get your ass up to go get a decent paycheck. Easy. You know, or if, you know, there's a mission you got to go do in the hood and homies are calling you and you're up and ready, why can't you go and do the same shit when you're at work?
Right.
You know, so there's no excuse. It's just how bad you want it, how serious you're going to take this. If you're not going to take it as serious as I am, then maybe it ain't your time. Mm-hmm. You know?
What advice do you have for women trying to be business women in Hollywood?
Oh, man. Like, just... I would say be confident in what it is you feel you could bring to the table, and don't allow anybody, not even the word Hollywood, because when people think Hollywood, they think, oh my God, these like big, you know, we have some scumbags in Hollywood, you know, but don't think that, oh, you have to like lower down. No, man, stay firm. You're a woman, but that doesn't mean that you can carry yourself with a man's mentality, straight up, you know, and be reassured of yourself. If you're waiting to be validated by everyone around you, you're going to fail. So just really be secure in what you got to bring. And if, let's say, if the answer is no or one door shuts, it's all right. Like, suck it up and keep working, and until you're able to deliver and knock down that fucking door. Because I've had to do it. And right now we are literally working on 4 featured projects where we're no longer background. These guys are going up and auditioning for speaking roles. So there's no way in hell you could tell me that what I have been persistent about isn't gonna be successful, because I've proved it. But if I allowed everybody's opinion to deteriorate my mission and my vision, then I'm not gonna keep moving forward. So I'm gonna stick to my belief, and as long as I'm not doing no harm, no foul play, no nothing, then I know I'm gonna be successful, and I won't allow anybody to tell me that it's not. You know?
Has Harvey Weinstein ever tried to do anything funny with you?
Never even met the guy. So.
But are there have you had to navigate Harvey Weinstein type people from certain points?
In different
you don't
points.
have to say who, but
yeah, different points. Yes.
Inappropriate dudes.
Yeah, I remember like meeting one person on set, and this particular gentleman, he told me, hey, like the key thing to this business, right, is no matter what, be nice, right? And me, no, but he was like saying he didn't try no foul nothing. He was just trying to give me like some advice, right? And I was like, and you know, I'm thinking, shit, my nickname's Snapper. I don't even know how to be nice. But I was like, what does that mean? Like, do I have to bite my tongue with certain things? Do I have to, you know?
As a woman of color?
Yeah, right? And he was like, no. Like, there's always a proper way of declining things, but not without like, because even in Hollywood, you have a blacklist, right? And if you're on that, then nobody's going to ever fuck with you. But there's always a way to approach things, right? And I think a lot of our women fail at having a strong boundary, you know, and because your career's on the line or whatever. But if I have to sell my soul to the devil because I have a position somewhere, I don't want to.
Wait a second. That's all good advice. Without saying who or whatever, I'm just asking you straight up. Has a man who is in a position to green light or red light something, have they ever in a direct or indirect way said, you can have what you want, but you got to give me what I want? Have you ever gotten that message?
I have, but not even from someone that has a green or red light. They think they do, you know? So and they might be close to that person. I see. But I stay firm in my belief, and I stay firm on having my self-respect.
Is it true that was Donald Trump Jr.? That's a joke. All right. And then what advice do you have for women who are active and trying to run in these streets and they're not ready to get out? What do they have to do?
You know, I don't look down on any women or anything that's out there. You know, everybody has a journey. Everybody has a path. But, you know, it comes to a point where I would really advise, like, take some time and love yourself, and you'll discover more than what you think, you know, you're worth, because your worth comes within. And don't let your past or your actions of your past shame you for the rest of your life or become this life sentence, you know. You are the architect of your own destiny. You can come back and bounce back from any situation if you really put the work in. And, you know, if you're still active, you're still whatever, just know that you're not the only one hurting. You're hurting everybody around you. You're hurting everybody that loves you. And if you think that it's a selfish move, it's really not, you know, because everything, if it was just something that was impacting you, then okay, whatever, jump off a cliff. But even jumping off a cliff, you're going to hurt people that love you. And if you feel like you're not loved because the only reason you would be down that path is because of not loving yourself, you know. But if you think that, just know that there is a higher power that's bigger than man, bigger than women, that loves you, and you're here for a purpose. Don't die without finding out your ability to make a change in this world, you know, because even in your most detrimental, low bottom, you could still make a difference. I'm sure, you know, we've all came across people at our lowest that probably thought we were better than them, you know? And I think even then you have something to bring to this table. So don't think that you're worthless, you're not capable of changing, you're not worthy of love. We all are worthy of love, and we all deserve happiness. And it's just, how bad do you want to love yourself? you know.
How has COVID impacted the television film business?
It impacted very severely, you know, just we were on a roll with like TV shows and but everything came to a complete stop. My biggest fear, honestly, was like, if my guys are not doing something actively, like, man, are some going to relapse, or some going to go to jail, or some, you know, like what's happening? And so that was my biggest concern. So I think like what we ended up doing, some of the guys started creating skits. I was like, we need to do something, you know? And so what I empower also my team to do is don't just be behind the camera, but write your shit down, you know, like write your ideas, produce your stuff, direct your stuff, like do it, and be okay with exposing yourself for who you are. Who cares if you're a big tatted up fool and you want to act like, you know, a clown or comedy or whatever.
Big lucky.
Like it's so it's all right. Like do it, be comfortable in your own skin. So we started doing that. What I've also done is like through the COVID, we have done like some team building exercises to come together more. I stand out from a lot of these casting agencies because I do take my time to meet these talents, like to get to know them on a different level. And they always say like, oh, it shouldn't be mixed like business with personal. But you know what? Like I've always been put to the side, right? Or put a shine on, like not someone really sat there to get to know me. So I wanted to provide a space for these guys to be like, no, look, you could be yourself. You're all from different hoods, but we all carry same traumas, same pain, similar situations. Like how can we identify what brings us together instead of dividing us? And let's do something, right? So we do team building, we do skits, we've sat there and we have team meetings, we collaborate in like writing projects, and I just try to maintain something going where it's not like, okay, we have enough space or time that we could just go back
no
to the hood
downtime
and everything.
right,
Yeah, like
back,
no
backslide.
downtime. Right.
But have you had people that you are working with that are from different neighborhoods and some shit popped off?
Never popped off. Like my team has to this day very, very respectful, carried themselves with integrity. I have had certain sets where I had one of the guys like, oh, I can't fuck with that dude over there because this and that, but because of you, like I'm gonna give you that. Like, all right, I'll get through this day and you know, and I respect that, you know. And even like on the set of SWAT, our biggest call was I think about like 60 gang members, and they were like, yeah, I need 60 guys, 6 a.m. You know, again, working with a Latino population, 6 a.m. Like, are they gonna get up? You know,
right? You had to tell them to be there the night before,
right? So they all showed up. You know, there are guys like from MS, guys from 18, guys from Florence, guys from Monte, Paramount, like, you know, all these guys, and they were all in a big setting, and everybody's like, what the hell? And they're all there, you know, like congregating and breaking bread, like when
it was kind of like a truce.
Right.
Like when like lions and fucking gazelles go to the water hole in Africa and they're like, listen, we all got to drink water. Nobody's going to fuck with each other right here.
Right.
Steve, you said there was is there other territories where there's kind of like a truce? I remember you saying that was by the mini donuts or whatever. You were like, hey, when everyone's down here, nobody saw anything, nobody heard anything.
You know, there's different organizations.
It's whatever that video store was.
No, that was the donut show. Where Trevor's Tacos is. There was so much bad business going in there that if you saw somebody from another hood, you guys would act like you didn't see each other.
No, yeah. So like, I mean, and there's other organizations, right, that do the gang intervention, but I think like with us, it's on a different scale. You know, I think I personalize, these guys really have turned to one another like brothers, like fathers, like seeking advice from one another, and that's like the beautiful thing that people don't see. They just think, oh, they come together and just party and whatever. Like, no, so there's more than that.
When is the show about you and what goes on behind the scenes with these fellas? When is that happening? Because I actually, don't you see a reality show there, Steve?
Absolutely.
Not in a Kardashian sense, but I mean just in a real sense. Like this is what
she's having to show up and bail one guy out,
right? Or you know, two hard ass motherfuckers are talking talking to each other about how they go inside and reach their inner child.
So you know what? It's crazy you actually brought that, because someone actually on a big platform, we did have a meeting and they wanted to capture that. They did offer From the Streets to the Set its own reality show.
I think that's great.
And that's something, you know, like we're thinking about, like legally, like, you know, bringing cameras home. I don't do the whole bring cameras home, because my space is my space. That should be, you know, sanctuary. That's my home. That's my kids. But just even being out there and seeing the healing component, because the person that reached out to us was, because I said, look, if you're gonna reach out and just make us look like clowns and all this drama, I don't want it. I'm gonna tell you right now, we're cutting it. You know, and but he was like, no, I think what people don't see is the like healing component that you put in. You know, the counseling.
Yeah, but be careful, because a lot of producers that they know you don't want to come off like that. So they're like, no, we're talking about the healing, and then they capture all the Duck Dynasty bullshit.
Exactly.
But you know what? That's why you should tell those dudes to fuck off and get your own crew and control how it's edited.
Right.
I mean, I think honestly, first of all, the way it seems like things are now, I don't think you need the high-end production values that, you know, maybe 5-10 years ago people got used to for television, right?
Right.
What you need is something that looks real, and it's something that you've edited or someone who works under you is editing so that you can show. And I almost think not in a standardized way. I almost think in a way that really captures, okay, well, that was this project.
Right.
And I had to go out and get these people, and these people had this, and they worked out this, they didn't work out that, right? And, you know, this is the struggle for a woman entrepreneur in this situation, and this is my family, and, you know, I think a great ending to each show is they try to follow you right into your house, and you just close the door. And that's it,
dope.
right?
Yeah, well, maybe we could talk about it, because I see a lot of talent in here. So
There is, actually. There is.
So, you know.
But, and then, okay, so real quick, when was your most, and come on, I know that people don't impress you, and you survived, you were a teenage mother, did that big, did it all great, took the big risk. But what was the most starstruck moment to date that you have been through?
I have not encountered it yet, but I believe that if I were to ever be on a set with Denzel, Will Smith, or Tyler Perry, I would be like, oh shit, this is where I want to be. Because those three gentlemen, I do acknowledge. I listen to Denzel almost on a daily, the motivational speaking, just like being able to walk through many doors that he had at one point like been shut, and he just, you know, managed that. And like even just Tyler Perry, right, being told that like he couldn't, you know, the stories that he brought, and now he's like one of the most successful, like, you know, studios out in Georgia. Like Will Smith, just watching Fresh Prince, like growing up with all of that, and then seeing how the career evolved and like the way he even speaks. I think at that point I'd be like, oh damn, like, okay, I'm with people who I admire, who I want to be at that level or whatever, you know. But as far as everyone else, no, I'm not easily. Maybe again because I grew up around that, like with my mom being a housekeeper. I wasn't really starstruck.
Wait a second. So Beyonce says, I need 5 real people for my video, and you go on a set with Beyonce. You're not gonna be starstruck?
No.
Okay. All right. Run DMC. Not gonna be starstruck? Okay.
No, it's really hard to believe that.
I'm gonna go through. So I'm gonna go through. You just be honest.
Yeah.
You just be honest. Mariah Carey. Not gonna be starstruck?
No.
Okay. Gary Busey. Not gonna be starstruck?
No.
Robert De Niro. Not gonna be starstruck?
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. Al Pacino. Not gonna be starstruck?
Yes. Actually, my aunt babysat for his wife's daughter, who is like Camila, the model, and then Lucia is his wife. today, and easily, like, my aunt's like, you should call her and see if you could meet her. And I was like, no, I don't want to use that, like, to get where I want to get.
Right.
Like, I'll meet this person when the time is right and it's meant for me to meet them. But there's, like, numbers in my phone currently that they're, you know, big names, and I never use that to move on up, because I wanted to be acknowledged for the work that I put in, not who I like. And it's always about, like, who you know and stuff, but I don't want the easy route. I want it to where my work shows, where my dedication, where my time is invested, when something wasn't given or handed to me, because I don't find no reward in being handed something and then it's like, all right, well, whatever, then I owe somebody else. No, at least I know when I get to where I want to get to it, because it was my sweat, my tears, my dedication, my sleepless nights, my commitment to the shit I believe in, you know. So
prediction on the presidential election, who's gonna win?
Anybody but Trump.
All right. Mm-hmm. And then I noticed that you have a stud in your lip, or not in your lip. What do you call that?
Piercing.
Yeah, piercing. But what part of the face is that, Steve?
lip.
Yeah, my upper lip.
Yeah, but it's not like in the lip meat. It's like above the lip meat, right?
Yeah, it's like a.
How long have you had that?
I've had that a few years. I'm gonna say about 3 years, going on 3 years.
What was the decision to doing that?
I just wanted to do it. Like, other times I couldn't do it because I was in, like, government settings, right? I've worked prior to gang intervention. I was with, like, the Sheriff's Department, DCFS, all that. Like, how, you know, I wanted to acknowledge, like, your daughter, right? And graduating and being a graduate. Like, when you ask me about my background, this is not the only thing I've done, but, like, I'm a certified substance abuse counselor through KDAC with California. I am able to facilitate domestic violence, victims group, parenting, anger management. I also have, like, the personal development aspect of, like, where I've been brought in to do presentations for LAPD and fire department, and, like, you know, so not only am I a hood person, but I'm an educated person, you know, and, like, I think at those times, I felt like I didn't want to risk anything that would make me have some type of career path in those settings. So I didn't want to alter more than what I already had, right? The ink and all that. Yeah. So I was respecting the ethical part of that. But then when I started being self-employed, I was like, man, whatever. I don't have to answer to nobody.
I'm my own boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel with my long hair in the court. Usually you can't do that. And you've got two, let's see. You got two pink, what is that?
These
you got
are
these
called
wristbands with some stones and shit on it.
These are called.
What is that?
Oh, well, the purple ones. These are called C-bands, and these are little things that provide little acupuncture things. So, like, any motion sickness or anything.
So and so why are you wearing those? What?
This morning I just felt a little, like, nauseous and stuff, so I just slapped them on.
Are you pregnant?
Well, that's something that I won't answer right now. No.
Whoa, that's a hard luck exclusive.
You are an attorney, aren't you, bro? How you, like, dug that up?
I don't know, bro. That's a deposition shit right there.
That's a bloodhound
right there, dog.
I saw those things. I was like, something. All right, and then you got a red. Are you in Kabbalah?
Yeah.
What is that?
No, so the red one is actually, I respect all religions and stuff, but I got this, like, kind of like a protection bracelet, right, that someone gave to me, one of my indigenous mentors, you know, and
okay.
So, you know, I carry it with me and
keep evil spirits away. Do you mess with Santa Maria? None of that shit?
No, I don't. I respect it all. I have been curious. I've asked questions. I've been, you know, I have family who, you know, that are involved with, like, you know, Santa Muerte and Santeria. And I respect all religions and all beliefs, you know, but, like, what I practice is what I practice. And,
right.
But nevertheless, I don't minimize the power that any of those beliefs have, you know, but I just respect it from afar.
You hear that? That's a good answer. She's like, look, I ain't trying to piss off any demonic spirits by saying it's weak or nothing, but I'm not trying to get involved.
No, I mean, I believe there's a balance of good and evil in this world, because without the other, I mean, it really wouldn't make any sense. There's no balance.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I believe in spirits.
Have you seen a ghost? Yes or no? Answer the question.
Ghost, no. Spirit, yes.
You've seen a spirit. Mm-hmm. Where and when?
Well, it's presented itself in my own home, and one of it I believe it's my mom, because my mom passed in my home. And I remember I was saging my house, right? And I was doing prayer, and when I got to the point where she passed, I was saging, and the plate I was using for the ash not to drop, it just blew up in my hand. And I was like, because I was trying to, in my own way, send her back like to rest, like you have to, and it just, and I was like, okay, lady, you can't be here if you're still here. You're like, go and rest, like that was my thought. And I have experienced my daughter like really been afraid of this older lady and a kid that revealed themselves to her at a very young age. And she used to run to me, because we used to live in front of the cemetery right on Whittier and Morena, and she ran like to the kitchen. She's like, "Tell the little girl stop playing with my toys." And I'm like, "What little girl?"
Oh my God!
And she would wake up like out of her sleep crying and saying, "La señora this, la señora that," and I was like, "What?" So I believe in prayer, and I believe that there are some unrested spirits in this realm.
You know what, man? Why are little kids scary?
Dude.
Because my little girl, with Shantan, like, she freaks me the fuck out. Because I'll be looking at my little daughter, and she'll just be staring off into space, like, looking like she's talking to something. And I'll be like, oh, what the fuck is she done?
Hey, my kid, we were sitting in bed, and my kid said that there was an old man in the closet.
Oh, no way, man.
He said he was nice,
No.
but I was like, oh, fuck, that freaks me out.
No, that
Yeah.
reminds me like Poltergeist 3 when
Well,
they're old,
I
dude.
think that stuff like that reveals like in a pure heart, and I mean, what's more pure than a child, right? And sometimes
You're
like
way
they
closer
say,
to the source than we are.
Yeah, but you know what?
Come
You know
on,
what? There's a
dog.
lot of serial killers that were kids too, man, and they weren't pure. You Jeffrey Dahmer, when he was a kid, you think that dude was pure?
Talking about little kids.
Almost freaking
little.
me out, man. I look at my daughter, and sometimes she stares off, and I'm like, dude, what is she looking at?
so like based on that, do you believe that there's kids that actually are born evil?
All right, you want me to be honest?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's a lot, and I don't know that it would be something that you could assess. Like, I wouldn't trust somebody that's like, oh, I know that 3-year-old's evil. We might as well just lock him up now.
Right.
I don't believe that.
Right.
But for people like Jeffrey Dahmer, or people like the Night Stalker or whatever, sometimes, yeah. Okay, so let me say this. I wouldn't say they were evil, right? But I would say something's wrong with them from the very beginning. Yes, there are some. Because how else do you explain that some people grow up in similar circumstances and some are able to process whatever and become a casting director, and then others, same exact scenario, and they don't. And you can say, well, that's up to voluntary choice, but I do think that, bless you, I do think that there are some when I say this, I mean 0.02% or something like that.
Right.
I'm the vast majority, no. Right. But just as when somebody's like, that guy's a sociopath or he's a psychopath, I don't think to be a real sociopath, that's really like 0.0002 for real. The rest of everyone else is just an asshole, and they were choosing to be an asshole. So yes, I do believe that.
Okay.
And by the way,
I don't. What?
I was going to say, and I don't necessarily think that you have to be like a little kid with a pure heart to see a ghost or a spirit. I mean, do you believe in demons? Like, do you believe in evil spirits?
I believe in evil spirits that they realm around. I mean, like I said, I believe it's
Realm?
like
They realm
they just.
around?
I think like okay.
But
here's,
so you're saying yes.
yeah, I
Okay.
believe there's a balance. There's good and evil.
So Steve, why not with kids? If you got a pure kid, he can see the good spirits, and why not like an evil kid can see the demon spirits realming around?
I think for one, I think kids can see things when they're little more clear than us, because I believe that they're coming. Their time here, they're closer to the source as a little kid. They're closer to. They just came from the Creator, so I feel like there's more insight with a child. Okay, that's overlooked.
Right.
They're dumb. They're this or that.
I don't think
that's
that.
Right.
I don't think they're dumb.
But I just see differently than you on the kid thing. I think a counselor told me man, maybe 30 years ago. He's like, everybody's born with a light inside of them, and either that light is fed or that light is put out. You know, dimmed. But I go, he said, I believe everybody is born with a certain light, and either that light is perpetual, you know, or it's you know, shut down. And I believe that. That's my belief, man. You know, I don't believe kids know evil. I don't believe kids know prejudice. I don't believe kids, and I'm talking about little kids, bro.
No, I mean, I know what you're talking about.
7, 8 years old.
Hey, dude, listen. I agree with all that. But if we believe there's a balance, that means that there's some sort of dark part that's part of the universe, and that's what it is. And all I'm saying is, it ain't the majority. Mm-hmm. It's not even 1%. It's probably 0.002%. But I feel like when I was growing up, there was at least 1 or 2 kids that I knew when I was a kid was like, oh, they're bad.
But I'm talking about infants. I'm talking about 0 to 3.
No, okay, 0 to 3. Nobody knows anything about 0 to 3 because 0 to 3 aren't really communicating. And then at 3,
they're communicating. They're not communicating the way that we know how to communicate.
Yeah. Okay, so we're not registering what they're saying.
Right.
Okay, so but we don't know what's going on with them.
Okay.
Okay, so when you don't know what's going on with it, with the 0 to 3, it's easy to project that, well, they're a blank slate. But I don't think that. I think that there's like 0.0001% evil people who they're 0 to 3 and they're communicating evil ways, but the parents can't see it because, like you just said, you can't pick up on 0 to 3. And then at about 4 years old, you're like, ooh, this one right here, he's burying his cats alive. He you know, I've seen some kids growing up where there is definitely something in their eyes.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, ooh.
Well, do you know? But do you know for certain they were born that way, or could there also be a possibility they became that way?
Listen, absolutely, 100% agree with you. I don't know for certain.
Okay.
But that's
I don't know for certain either. But this is what I believe.
Right. So I believe based on the rules that we're even talking about here, which is there's a balance and there's an order and everything. There is a place for something that's just evil from the gate. That's all I'm saying. Evil from the gate.
Have you wrestled with any evil spirits ever in your life? Physically wrestled with any evil spirits? Or spirits?
There was one time that King Salmon was drunk and I had to regulate on his ass and wrestle him to the ground.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I've never wrestled with any evil spirits, but I'm going to save this for when King Salmon, that's my cousin. I'm going to save this for when King Salmon comes on. Mm-hmm. But for everything I just said, there's definitely something that King Salmon and I went through.
Oh, that you watched on the ceiling?
Yeah. That I can't explain. I can't explain it at all. All right. Anyway, final word.
Final words.
Final word. All right, Berenice.
Yes.
Snapper.
Snapper.
Yeah. So, how can we find you, or how can we?
I want to ask something real quick.
Yeah.
So how does someone, you know, there's a lot of people listening to the show that are involved in a certain lifestyle. How can they get involved with what you do?
Hold on a second. Don't start that because we just had Lepke come in here. Berenice, do you need people knocking on the door, or do you got enough people already trying to fucking get your attention?
There's many, but I'm sure there's gonna be more. No, I think look, if you're ready to work, to be in a setting with different people from different communities, if you're ready to take a new opportunity and really dedicate yourself to something, then we could talk. If the mentality isn't there yet, then figure that out first.
Berenice, but wait, hold on.
On top of that, what's the quickest way to burn a bridge?
To burn a bridge?
Yeah.
Show up
Man,
late.
yeah, show up late.
Show up drunk.
Show up late.
Show up
That's
Like
the main one.
If someone submits like an application or like I don't know what it would be, a portfolio, what's the quickest way when you read something like that for it to go right into the wastebasket?
Do you take applications?
There is a format like that I asked for in an email format. So you provide like your information. So like your name, if you do have a stage name, because I do get even people who are rappers and stuff, like include that, your height, your weight.
Hung. Is it true that Brother Lynch Hung is applied to
your height, your weight, your even like, age, contact info. Yeah, like just... I don't really ever turn anyone around unless they start. Okay,
come on.
I'm gonna tell you like this. I do not answer messages if you direct yourself to me as in like, "Hey, what up, bro? Put me on." I just skip by that shit because
they already don't know how to act.
Yeah, because and I feel like you are trying to obtain an opportunity. If I was, hypothetically speaking, a white man in a CEO position, in a suit, in a big corporate, would you be referring to me like that? No, you would not. So I need to set my own tone of how you come at me directly because I'm a professional. So, and whether I'm a woman, whether I'm Chicana, whether I'm working out of a garage, I'm still have to be approached in a professional way. If you can't come at me like that, then I'm not even going to waste my time.
Because if the shit blows up, who's the production people gonna blame for it?
Me, most definitely. And so that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, I'll tell you this. I've had conversations with some of our own people who are in positions, or they call themselves directors, writers, producers, that act the fool even just on social media. And then when I bring it up, they get offended, and and it's like, hold on, like I'm only doing constructive criticism because one, you always have to look at the position we're coming from. I believe that our people always have to work 2 times harder to prove what the hell we're trying to obtain, and if that we deserve this shit. So if I go into a setting talking about like, what's up, dog, and like, can this and that, like, am I gonna be taken seriously? Hell no. So I'm gonna have to adapt to that scenario. And if I'm posting, and you guys are a group of men in this room, and please let me know if you were to go to my page, right, and you saw me taking selfies or like my boobs or like doing all this
immediately. I'm hiring you immediately.
But in a perspective of what? Like, we're doing what exactly? Like my body being my asset? Like, I can't do that. So what am I going to perceive, even if it's because everything's on social media right now? If I want to be taken seriously and as a professional, I'm going to act right. Now, if I want to do that,
as a professional, so what are you projecting?
Right. So, that's why, now, if you want to act like that, I'm sure you could have a personal page, and then you have your family and you do whatever. But on a professional platform, like, know how to handle yourself. And I find so many people that get off, I don't have to change the way I am, and I don't have to like whatever. Like, well, shit, because you don't change the way you are, maybe you're not going nowhere, and like, that's...
Did you see her eyes? Call. Did you see her eyes when she did that? And she was like snapping her head back and forth. She's like, well, maybe that's why you're
she's snapper.
She sounded like she said that a couple of times.
But you know what? And I've lost many relationships, many so-called friends, many whatever people, because they believe like, I'm a sellout, or I changed. Don't you want to change? Like, hello, that's part of life. You gotta change.
If you're gonna move up levels, you gotta be willing to say goodbye to certain people.
Exactly, certain people, certain ways you walk, certain ways you speak. And there's a set and a place and a time for everything, right? Like, if once, let's say, the mics go off and now you guys are like, remember back, and then I could be like, hey, like, I could be free about whatever. But if I'm gonna deliver something and I'm trying to sell something, and what people don't understand, and whoever, all the haters, all this shit talk, and this is what I think about my haters, they're fans that don't know it yet, but so these people, that have so much shit to say, what they don't understand is that, now, if I was only repping me, I'm Berenice Valle, and this is just me, like, think whatever, then okay, cool. But I'm not just representing me. I'm a mother of 2, so I'm gonna conduct myself as a woman. I'm
Right.
a wife. I'm
Right.
gonna conduct myself as a woman. I'm a professional,
Right.
and I carry a team behind me, so I am the face of that team. So if I'm perceived the wrong way, then what the hell are they gonna think about my team? If the leader's not even knowing how to act, then what do I expect from the rest of the flock?
Absolutely.
You know, so that's where I have to move a certain way, and I've lost people, and I'm okay with that, you know, because I know where I'm going is not the same place I want to be at. I haven't left the hood. I still live in the hood because I don't believe you have to relocate to change your mindset and be successful. But I don't have to. I could live in the ghetto. I don't have to be ghetto. You know what I'm saying? And that's where people don't understand. Like, you have to carry yourself in a way that you want to be perceived. Back in the day, I was, you know, rocking Dickies. I'm tatted, the whatever. And I wanted to be perceived as Snapper, the gang member, right? And I carried myself as that. But am I going to be perceived as a writer, producer, director, casting in Hollywood and still be that way? Hell no. They're going to be like, oh, this
Ms.
clown.
Snapper
you know?
now.
So I have to act accordingly. And that is, and my biggest purpose and the image that I carry is more solely for my children and the next generation.
Right.
Because these older cats who are set in their mind and all that, I can't change the way people think, their mindset, all that. That's all good and collective and whatever the hell and respected. But what do I want to give my daughter to think, right? Now, if I'm showing my breast or I'm using all this to come up, then I'm showing my daughter that her talent, her voice, and her intelligence means shit. Because if you're not out there showing your body, then you're not going to get nowhere. And no, I'm not trying to put that on my daughter. And I'm also trying to teach my son that there are women in certain positions that you're going to have to respect, even if you are the man, you know? And so therefore, I am what I want my kids to look up to, you know. I exposed them to a lot of trauma, and I exposed them to the ugly side of me for many years, you know. And so now it's time to say, hey, like, mom's moving in a different direction. And I'll be completely honest, like, my son just came around literally the last year and a half, because I put that kid through so much that when I used to be like, well, I'm your mom, he's like, all of a sudden you're my mom. And I had to deal with shit like that. But I understand that I can't be mad at him for that. You know, I can't be mad at something that I created or I exposed. So how I dealt with that, when many people were like, well, your son's out there gangbanging, getting stabbed, getting tatted, it became from your hood, his dad's hood. Like, and I used to get a lot of shit. And here's where, again, I go back to my faith. If I'm doing the work, then I'm going to allow God to work in my home, and he's going to do that. And by the grace of God, 5 years later, my son is now 18 years old. He went from having 3 big cases to spending 3 times in juvenile hall, to being stabbed in the halls, to being stabbed outside, to being shot at, to being harassed, to being all like a destructive, suicidal kid, like to where he was self-destroying himself, to where I remember sitting down and talking to some of my people and saying, man, I'm going to have to bury my kid. I'm going to have to bury him because this kid is stubborn. I had to make peace with God and say, look, God, if you're going to take my son, then that's where you're going to take him. But give me the strength because I have a daughter, you know, and if I have to bury my kid, then that's where it is. But that faith and me continuing to see the good in this other side. My son used to show up to team meetings because I used to have in my backyard, and he used to see all these other guys, you know, and he'd be like, why are you helping the enemy? Like, why are you working with the enemy? And I'm like, what the fuck is the enemy? Like, you know, and he wasn't ready to comprehend that. So now I stayed committed to my vision, to my mission, to what is stamped in my heart. And today my son has made a big comeback, and like this gets me so emotional because this kid, I give it to him. I give credit where credit is due, and my boy, I'm proud of that kid. And it's his first year in college. He graduated after coming out of juvenile hall when the district didn't even want to take him. I had to fight with the board, you know, and they were like, we don't want no kid on probation here because we would have to hire a probation officer. So I got a probation officer that agreed that he would go check on my kid at that school twice a week, was on his ass. He got clean. He ended up, you know, starting to derail from just being posted in the hood. This kid has a job. He's in college. He made the college football team. He's fucking, you know, working. He has his own car. He provides. I stopped buying my kid shit at the age of 15 because that kid was providing. And my son shoots me like $250 a month for whatever I need. And he provides the hygiene. He helps with my daughter. Like, there's no fucking way you're gonna tell me that this kid that lived through so much, because, you know, when my mom died, who was primarily mom, you know, she died at home, and then 5 months prior to that, his great grandma died, my grandma. So 5 months apart. Then 9 months later, you know, his dad passed, and then 5 months later, they murdered his best friend. So, like, him having all this shit against him, you know, and just being in the hood, like, I really thought, like, man, it's gonna be a run for my money, and I'm gonna have to bury my kid. But never, ever, and my, you know, and if my son's listening or not or whatever, if, you know, one thing I could stand firm is that never, ever did I allow my son to show up to court and not see me there. You know, never did I allow me to be a bigger advocate for somebody else's kid and not go 300 times harder for my own. I remember, you know, when you go in juvenile hall, they don't allow parents to really speak on behalf of their kids. So me being an advocate on the street, the judge was familiar with the work that I did. So she thought that I was one of my clients. And I said, no, this is my son. When I said that, she's like, okay, so you have no right to say it. And I said, no, check this out. The 15 minutes that you and the public defender and the DA took to read that file doesn't define you knowing my son. That's not who he is. These are the circumstances, and I'm not justifying his actions, because what he did is wrong, and I've always held my kids accountable for their actions. You do something, better pay for it, good or bad. Just be ready for the consequences. So at that point, I advocated for my son, and I don't believe that any kid should be like in foster care or camp or whatever, because if I had them, it's my responsibility to raise them, whether good or bad. Fucking blame that shit on me, so I don't have to blame the system, you know. So give me that chance. So I went in there prepared with the resources, with the ability. I'll do family counseling, I'll do whatever it takes, but I want to give myself a fair chance as a mother, and a fair chance to my son, that he knows there's no one on this end giving up on him. And I'm going to show him that my love is going to fucking love him until the day he knows how to love himself. And they granted me that. And, you know, and this is the product of my ass not giving up on my faith and in the work that I believe I was doing just by just being the example, you know. And today, like, I get home and I see his car there, and I don't have to be blowing up homies. Hey, have you seen him? Have you this? Have you that? Calling police stations, you know, or having even the cops calling me direct because they had my number, you know. And today I'm grateful for that. Today I understand that, you know, the way you carry yourself, the way you expose, the way you do things, it will rub off. If any mom out there is listening that has lost hope or whatever, man, just keep moving forward, stay in that faith, pray, meditate, whatever, and a kid will actually follow more what they see than what they hear. You could preach to the choir all they want, but if you see something different, that's what they'll follow. And today, man, with you know, Manny and stuff, like, I've been grateful. My son got into the acting. He's been working with Manny, and you know, like, soon hopefully we'll be like in a project together, and that would be our first project that, you know, we work. So, like, what people don't understand, that I do this shit for more than just like money, clout. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. But if I could bring someone's kid back home that night, or change the perspective or the direction they take their life, like, that's my fucking purpose. And that's cool. I could die broke. I don't give a shit. But at least I made some, you know, I touched some souls, and starting with my own, you know. So, like, that's really, you know, like, ooh, now you made me get emotional. Jeez, no, but
emotional.
But yeah, but no, yeah, that's really where I stand with whole, like, how I carry myself and all that stuff, you know, because it's crucial. It's crucial, and that's just where I stand, and I'll continue to stand.
I don't think anything else needs to be said.
I don't think anything else needs to be said.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but what we do need to do is we need you to, Berenice, plug where people can find you. Give us your IG handles, your company name.
Yeah, so our professional name is URA Casting. It's Underrepresented Artist Casting. Our slogan is From the Streets to the Set, and you could find us on both Instagram and Facebook from the streets to the set. And our email is ura.casting@gmail.com. If there's any questions, any directors, producers, anybody out there that wants to work with our population, I got more than enough talent on our team.
Berenice, you're more than enough talent.
Yep.
You're more than enough woman for any man.
She's got more talent. She's got more talent in her little finger than right. CAA's gotten its whole building.
Yeah, man. I know a bunch of 6'4" men. They ain't got as much courage in their whole fucking body as she's got in her pinky fingernail.
Oh my god!
You know what I'm saying?
That painted, manicured,
Man,
beautiful pinky nail. She takes her nails seriously.
It's good, man. It's good, and I'm glad that you're in this world, this professional world of media. I look to you as somebody who's, you're on our team.
Yeah.
We can move through this thing and we can help each other.
Look,
hey, we're moving towards the same direction.
Lepke's looking for some roles. Yeah. We got a sequel to Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, that he's going to be in. He's also portraying Liz Taylor in The Drunk.
Listen, I want to say thank you, Berenice, for coming down today.
Thank you for having
Thanks for
me.
taking the time.
Yeah, thank you.
We have an open door policy. Always, Phil, I want you to use this platform as a place you feel you can come and promote.
Thank you.
Or bring anybody that you think
bring
is
some
special.
guests,
Right,
and we'll help tell their story and help get the word out.
You know what? I didn't
Awesome.
ask that.
Thank
We're going to
you.
ask later because I'm not going to get the show to go any longer. But I do definitely want to hear some stories about people who showed up and after one acting gig got totally like upper crust and highfalutin. Next thing you know, they're like John Barrymore with like a fucking.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to hear those stories.
I got to
Thank
hear
you.
that.
Listen,
Yes.
thank you, everybody. Great job.
Good job.
Great job, Sean.
Yes.
Audio, Emerald Eyes.
And a couple of zinger questions, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you old red man, teary-eyed.
Oh, yeah.
Emotional wreck
Yeah.
today. Yes, I love that in you,
dude.
brother.
I should have worn my.
I like when the guy in total control loses his grip on control.
I should have worn those fucking wristbands with the fucking shit that she's got on. Man. I'm pregnant.
Yeah,
I think I might be
we
pregnant.
got a couple wristbands outside for you, partner.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Ovando Bone LLP.
That's what I'm talking
If
about.
you guys get into any kind of legal trouble, legal question, hit me up. Hit me up. I
him
will
up.
take care of you.
City Green Builders.
John Ritter.
Yeah.
John
Yeah,
Ritter,
John Ritter.
executive producer. Be on the lookout for Supermax Hardware drops 10/1/2020.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out. Hard to Kill.
Hard
H2K.
to kill.
Stay tuned for the next. Oh yeah, shout out to Cookies and Burner, Cookies Apparel,
Vibes.
Cookies Cannabis,
Yeah.
Vibes, Rolling Papers, Vibes
Shout out to
Apparel.
Vibes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mommy Burger on the Impossible Double fucking vegan Gruyere cheeseburger with a truffle oil. That was fantastic. What's your guilty food? What do you eat, Berenice? What's your guilty pleasure?
I love tacos del pastor.
All right.
Good. Hey, look at what I got to give out one R.I.P. Rest in peace to Sal Galvan Biguero, and then go to my Instagram stories and page. There's a GoFundMe to help out with some funeral services for my boy. Also, another shout out is going out to Diablo, Big D from the Norwalk area, who's fighting a battle on his hands. I love you, man. I'm thinking about you and your family. I'm here for you guys. With that, adios amigos from the Hard Luck Show.
Yeah.